Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim. Welcome to our Dhamma discussion today. This is the fourth series in these Dhamma discussions where we explain the path to Sothapanna, the first level of enlightenment as per Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra is the very first sutra that Lord Buddha delivered after attaining Buddhahood to the Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, the first 5 disciples, Kondanya, Bhadya, Vappa, Mahana, Masaji, and they listened to the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra and became Sothapanna. So I believe that Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra is the most important sutra in the Tripitaka, and that is the sutra that you listen to, learn and follow in order to become Sothapanna, which is the first level of enlightenment. So in addition to the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, I'll be also quoting information from several other sutras, such as Sothapanna Sutra, Chutta Sutra, Ratana Sutra, Dveda Vitakka Sutra, and Vitakka Santana Sutra. And also, when I'll be explaining about meditation, I'll be quoting information from Sothapanna Sutra, Girimananda Sutra, and several other sutras relating to meditation, such as Anapanasati Samadhi Sutra. So all these sutras I have taken from the oldest Tripitaka in the world, which is kept at the British Library in London. British Library happens to be less than 20 miles from our vihara. So apart from during the winter 3 months, December, January, February, rest of the year I visit the British Library once a week. So every year I visit about 30 to 35 times to read this Tripitaka. And I'm the only one in the whole world, entire world, who visit the British Library regularly to read this Tripitaka. Several people from this group have visited London, and I have taken them to read this Tripitaka, particularly Pankaj Meshram from USA, and Ravi and Kalpana from USA, and some people from Sri Lanka, some from India, and Pankaj Somko is still now staying with us. Unfortunately, he's not very well today. I'm not sure whether he's joining this session or not. Soon I'll be taking Pankaj there as well. So anyone who wants to visit this Tripitaka, read this Tripitaka, please let me know, and I'll be more than happy to accommodate you. So all the information that I'm quoting in these Dhamma sermons are from this old Tripitaka. This Tripitaka is more than 2,200 years old, and it is the oldest Tripitaka in the world and widely accepted as the only 100% correct Tripitaka, because this is over 2,200 years old and written by Arahat monks. All the other Tripitakas that are available in the world are written down during the past 200 years. This old Tripitaka has been written down 456 years after Lord Buddha passed away at Alulena Rajamaha Vihara in Kegol district in Sri Lanka. That place is still there, and if you visit there, you will see all the literature relating to this Tripitaka. It's a very ancient, old cave temple in Sri Lanka. That's where this Tripitaka has been written down. And the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra is written down on gold leaves, pure gold leaves. And the Sothapanna Sutra is written on copper leaves. And all the other sutras are written on ola leaves. So, in addition, now the information in this old Tripitaka sometimes differ widely from the information you will find in the new Tripitakas. Now, let me give you one example. Before I read the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra in the old Tripitaka, which is 50 pages, I have read the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra in 4 other Tripitakas, 2 in Sri Lanka, 2 in the UK. The 2 that we have in Sri Lanka, Sinhala Pali Tripitakas, are the first one has been written down in 1956 for Buddha Jayanti. So it's less than 100 years old. And the second one has been written down in 1990s, which is less than 50 years old. And also these 2 English Tripitakas that we have in the UK, we have copies of them in Sri Lanka also. So I also read them in Sri Lanka. One is written down by the well-known American monk, Bhikkhu Bodhi, who is the president of the Theravada Buddhist Association in USA now, I believe. He's 73 years old and he was ordained in Sri Lanka. And he has lived in Sri Lanka for 24 years. And I believe that he speaks fluent Sinhala, even though I haven't met him. There's one Tripitaka that he has translated into English. That is one English Tripitaka which is also less than 100 years old. And there's another English Tripitaka written down by an Englishman called Ray Davis that is also less than 100 years old. So in all these 4 Tripitakas that I have read earlier, all 4 are less than 100 years old. Those are the only Tripitakas that I could find in the world so far. I have been a Buddhist in all my life. I am 63 years old now. And I was a chartered accountant by profession and I became a monk 8 years ago. I have lived in London for 45 years. And during my lifetime, I have devoted my life to learning Buddha Dhamma. And I have read only 4 Tripitakas before I read this old Tripitaka. So in this new Tripitakas, in the 4 Tripitakas, you can read the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra is given on 3.5 pages. Only 3.5 pages. But in the old Tripitaka, which is kept at the British Library, Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra is 50 pages. So there's a huge difference between 3.5 pages and 50 pages. So due to this reason, there are differences. So when I explain Dhamma from the old Tripitaka, sometimes it might differ from what you have learned already. And if that is the case, please don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. Just practice the principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama Sutra. In Kalama Sutra, Lord Buddha said, don't either believe or disbelieve what I say. Just listen to what I am saying, remember it, take it home, go through it several times, analyze it using your intelligence and wisdom. And at the end of the day, if you think it's right, you take it, make use of it, and you will get results very quickly. On the other hand, at the end of the day, if you think it's wrong, just leave it out and carry on with whatever you were doing before, but don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. So I make the same kind of request from you. If you find any differences, please don't develop anger, resentment, or arguments against it. You can ask me questions. I give you 2 hours to ask any questions. But practice the same principle that Lord Buddha explained in Kalama. I hope all that is clear to you. Now we will start with observing Panchasila, and then we will meditate for 5 minutes. Then I will deliver the sermon for 1 hour, and I will give you 2 hours to ask any questions. Sorry, we started late today because we had to wait for the late comers. It's not, I mean, that is beyond my control. You see, our people always come late, most of our people. Hope you understand that. Okay, let's start with observing Panchasila. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Buddhang saranang gacchami. Dhammang saranang gacchami. Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panati pata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Adinna dana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Kamesu miccācara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Surameraya majjapama dattana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to meditate for 5 minutes. Can you all please sit comfortably? And you can either sit on the floor, on a cushion, or on a chair, whichever you find more comfortable, most comfortable for you. You can lean against the wall if you like. And if you can't sit down, you can meditate standing up. There are 4 positions Lord Buddha has explained for meditating. That is standing up, lying down, sitting down, and walking. So you can use any of those positions, whichever you prefer. And please close your eyes and take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. Please repeat these karmasthana meditation sentences after me. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the 4 noble truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. Let's repeat once more. May all living beings and myself be healthy. May all living beings and myself be happy. May all living beings and myself be free from worries. May all living beings and myself be free from suffering. May all living beings and myself comprehend the Four Noble Truths. May all living beings and myself finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, please repeat those Karmasthana meditation sentences in your mind for 3 minutes, please. While staying in the same position and still keeping your eyes closed, take a deep breath and let it out very slowly. Please repeat that 3 times. Now you can slowly open your eyes, sit comfortably, and get ready for the Dhamma discussion. Now, as I explained earlier, in this series of discussions, we are discussing the path to Sothapanna, the first level of enlightenment, as per Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. Before I go into Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, there are a few important points I explained to you. Now, I have met thousands of Buddhist people from all over the world. A lot of them say, I like to become Sothapanna, I like to become Sothapanna. But when you ask them what is Sothapanna, they can't explain what it is. So it is important to know the precise terms, what you mean by Sothapanna, right? And then what are the benefits of becoming Sothapanna? Why Lord Buddha said it is so important to become Sothapanna in this life? And what happens to us when we die if we are not Sothapanna? And can we become Sothapanna today? And how to do it? That's what Lord Buddha has explained in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. So let's start with the first one. What do we mean by Sothapanna? Lord Buddha said, firstly, Dukkhe Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodhe Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodhagamini Patipajja Jnanam, Ayang Uchyati Bhikkhave Samma Ditti. So a person who has Dukkhe Jnanam, that's, there are 73 Buddha Jnanas. Buddha Jnana is special wisdoms a Samma Sambuddha has. Out of that, a Sothapanna person will get 7 wisdoms. The first three are, the first one is called Suttame Jnana, the wisdom that you get by listening to Dhamma. That's what you are doing now. You are listening to Dhamma. The second one is called Silame Jnana. Sila means discipline. So when you are listening to Dhamma, you also observe some discipline. So you get the second wisdom as well by listening to Dhamma. And the third one is Bhavana Me Jnanam. Bhavana is meditation. So that's a third wisdom. You get that also by listening to Dhamma. So anyone who has come to the Sothapanna Marga and associating a Kalyana Mitra and listening to Dhamma, they will get these three wisdoms. So right now you are getting those three wisdoms. The wisdom that you get by listening to correct Dhamma, and the wisdom that you get by practicing Sila while listening to Dhamma, and the concentration, the meditation, type of meditation that you are doing now. So that third wisdom also you will get by doing this for some time, not straight away. You will have to do it for some time. It depends on the individual, how many times it takes. But you have started doing that now, those three. In addition to that, once you have comprehended Dhamma, and Lord Buddha said you will get four wisdoms. There's Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini, Patipada Jnanam. So those are the four wisdoms you will get by understanding the four noble truths at the first level. What are the four noble truths? Lord Buddha said in his language, Dukkhaṃ Arya Sacchaṃ, Dukkha Samudayo Arya Sacchaṃ, Dukkha Nirodho Arya Sacchaṃ, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini, Patipada Arya Sacchaṃ. So if you translate that in English, noble truth of suffering, noble truth of the reason for suffering, noble truth of out of suffering, and the noble truth of the way out of suffering. So Lord Buddha said, a person who has listened to Dhamma and comprehended Dhamma has got these four wisdoms. He will know what is noble truth of suffering. What is the reason for noble truth of suffering? This is the most important one. If you know the reason only, if you know the reason for the illness only, you can find the cure. So out of suffering, that means everything in the world is subject to cause and effect theory. So if you know the reason, if you stop the reason, you can come out of it. If you stop the cause, you will stop the results. So it explains the nature of the suffering, how to come out, the fact that you can come out of it, and noble truth of the way out of suffering, how to come out of this suffering. So those four noble truths, you will have a good knowledge of those four noble truths. If you listen to Dhamma, practice Dhamma, you will get those four you will get those four special knowledges. Dukkha Jnanam, Dukkha Samudaya Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Jnanam, Dukkha Nirodha Gamini, Patipada Jnanam. Ayang Uchyati Bhikkhave Samma Ditti. So anyone who has listened to Dhamma, practiced Dhamma, and obtained this knowledge or comprehended this knowledge, that person has become Samma Ditti, Lord Buddha said. What is Samma Ditti? Can someone tell me what is Samma Ditti? Samma Ditti is the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path. Now, in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, Lord Buddha say the way out of suffering is the practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. Right? You have to practice the Noble Eightfold Path to come out of suffering completely. And the first one of the Noble Eightfold Path is Samma Ditti. Then the second one is Samma Sankappa. Third one is Samma Vacha. Fourth one is Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. So the Sotapanna person is Samma Ditti. He has completed, or he has comprehended the Four Noble Truths at the first level, and he has attained Samma Ditti. In other words, he has completed the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path, which is Samma Ditti. Now, what is Samma Ditti? You know, most people don't know what is Samma Ditti. And if they don't know what is Samma Ditti, they don't know what is Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanta, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, Samma Samadhi. They don't know any of them. If you ask someone what is Samma Ditti, they will say it's the correct view. And if you ask them what is the correct view, if you ask 10 people will say 10 different things. What is correct to you is not correct to someone else. So that's not a clear definition. Lord Buddha has given a specific definition to Samma Ditti. So in order to understand that, first you have to understand the meaning of the word Sang. Now the meaning of the word Sang is the word that appears the highest number of times in the Tripitaka. It's such an important word. You will get that from the very beginning when you explain Panchaskandha and Pancha-Upadana-skandha, which creates our thought process. Remember, Lord Buddha said, Mano Pubbangama Dhamma Mano Setta Manomaya. The first verse in the Dhammapada, which explains everything happens according to our thought process. So the thought process begins with our chitta, we prepare our mind, and that is called sanchetana. If a person is constructing his mind, the pruthakjana person is called sanchetana. So there also you get the word sang. Then that person commits a sankara. What is sankara? The word sang is there. Then when you do a sankara, you have sang udaya, samudaya. Sang udaya. These are the Magadhi words. Unfortunately, it's impossible to translate this into English because there are no words, enough words in the English language that gives the exact meaning of the Magadhi words. But I will try my best to explain to you as I go on. But here, let me explain briefly, and then as I go on, I will explain it in more detail. So I'm just trying to explain to you, highlight to you the importance of the word sang. It appears everywhere. So the first place that we have come across now is Samma Ditti. So it is very important to first understand the meaning of the word sang. So in most Tripitakas, they have given so many different meanings. The only Tripitaka that gives the correct meaning of the word sang that I have read is the Tripitaka that is kept at the British Library in London. And I also met two Arahat monks in Sri Lanka in the forest, and they also explained me the same thing. So let's look at the meaning of the word sang. Where can you find this meaning? Can you remember the last 3 words of Lord Buddha just before he passed away to Parinibbana? Can someone remember?
Yes, Bhante. Was it Appamadena Sampadeta?
Appamadena Sampahadeta. What do we mean by Appamada? Can anyone remember? Those who attended the series before, Appamada. Appamada in our language, in Sinhala language, we say Appramada. The Magadhi language and the Sinhala that we speak today are very, very close. And Appamada in Magadhi language, in our language, is called Appramada. I'm sure it must be close in other Indian languages as well. Appramada, does it make any sense to anyone?
Without any delay, Bhante?
Without any delay. Appramada means without any delay. Sang pahadeta. So let's leave the word sang. Pahadeta. Pahadeta in our language means, or in Magadhi language, it means remove. Completely eradicate. Remove. Right? So here Lord Buddha is saying, remove without any delay. Sang. Apramadena sang pahadeta. Without any delay, remove completely sang. So what do you think he asked people to remove? You see, these are common sense. You have to analyze these things and understand the correct meaning. You just don't have to take what is said in the book. We all have intelligence and wisdom. We can analyze these words and see the meaning. Appamadena sangpahadeta. So what did Lord Buddha say in the three most important gathas? Sabba papasa karanang, kusalasa upasampada, sachitta pariyodapanang, etang Buddha anusasanang. Sabba papasa karanang means, this gatha gives Buddha Dhamma in a nutshell. Sabba papasa karanang. Remove, eradicate completely. Akaranam means all unwholesome. Raga, dvesha, moha. Right? That's what it means. Remove raga, dvesha, moha, which is unwholesome. So here, in the last three words, Lord Buddha is saying, remove completely sang. So what do you think sang means? Sang means klesha or raga, dvesha, moha. If anyone doesn't agree with me, please question me during question time. I can show you many examples which agree with this explanation. Sang means anything to do with raga, dvesha, moha. So here, in other words, raga, dvesha, moha, another word for that is klesha. Another word for that is Lord Buddha called these three poisons. And he has given many names for it. So Lord Buddha Dhamma is all about removing raga, dvesha, moha. That's the main object of Buddha Dhamma. Remove raga, dvesha, moha, main object, first object. Second object is maximize maitri, karuna, mudita, upekha. Sabba papasa karanang, kusalasa upasampada. Sabba papasa karanang means remove everything to do with unwholesome, raga, dvesha, moha. Unwholesome raga, dvesha, moha. Kusalasa upasampada. Kusal means wholesome thoughts. Develop wholesome thoughts as much as possible. Anything wholesome, wholesome thoughts, wholesome action, wholesome qualities. What is wholesome? Maitri, karuna, mudita, upekha, which I will explain you in the future as we go on. Sachitta pariyodapanang. Through this process, purify your mind. Etang Buddha anusasana. So when you purify your mind, you see things as they are, you will comprehend the Four Noble Truths, you will see the truth, you will understand it, you will comprehend it. Etang Buddha anusasana. Etang means this is the advice given by every Samma Sambuddha. So that Gatha explains Buddha Dhamma in a nutshell. I'm sure you have heard of it. There are two other gathas that explains the same thing in different words. One is Sabbe Sankara Anicchati Yada Panyaya Passati Atanibbindati Dukke Esamaggo Visuddhya. I will explain that in the future. The other one is Sabbe Sankara Anicchavata Sankara Uppadavaya Dhammino Uppajjitva Nirujjanti Te Sang Upasamosuko. There are also, you say Te Sang, the three sons, Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So all these three gathas gives Buddha Dhamma in a nutshell. I will explain it in the future. So coming back to the point that I'm trying to make here, I'm trying to explain you the meaning of the word sang. Sang means raga, dvesha, moha. So sammaditthi means it gives a clear definition. Sang means raga, dvesha, moha. In other words, unwholesome. Ma means completely eradicating. Ditti means the vision. So sammaditthi doesn't mean correct vision. When you say correct vision, you can give 101 definitions. But when you say this definition, there's only one definition. You can't misunderstand that. You can't translate into several definitions. There's only one definition. The definition is sammaditthi means, sang means raga, dvesha, moha. Ma means completely eradicating. Ditti is the vision. So sammaditthi means the vision that helps you to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha. Remember that clearly, right? Sammaditthi means, sang means raga, dvesha, moha. Ma means completely eradicating. And ditti is the vision. So sammaditthi means the vision that helps you to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha completely. So a person who has become sammaditthi, he knows, he has a clear vision. In other words, he knows exactly how to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha completely, but he hasn't done it yet. For example, you know the route from, let's say, Los Angeles to New York, but you haven't gone there yet, right? You haven't used the car, or you haven't driven there yet, but you have studied the route. You know how to do it. Sammaditthi. Then the person who has come to Sammaditthi, he will then work towards Samma Sankappa, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammat, Samma Ajiva, Samma Vayama, Samma Sati, finally Samma Samadhi. Samadhi is meditation. I will explain all that in detail later. Don't worry about it. For the time being, I just wanted to explain to you the meaning of the word sang. So remember, always anything to do with raga, dvesha, moha starts with the word sang. So sanchetana, chetana means constructing a thought. So if a person is constructing a thought with raga, dvesha, moha, that is called sanchetana. Then you get sankara. Kara means action. So if any person taking an action with raga, dvesha, moha, that is called sankara. Then when we do a sankara, we create samudaya. Samudaya means sang udaya. Udaya means arriving or creating. So when we do a sankara, we create more sang, raga, dvesha, moha, and so on and so on. So you can follow this, the word sang, throughout the Paticca-Samuppada Dhamma, and understand how this suffering is created. You can also follow the word sang through the Panchaskandha and Pancha Upadana Skandha and see how suffering is created. I will come to all that later, right? Now, there's another important thing you have to remember when we are talking of suffering. Lord Buddha has divided suffering into three categories. The first one is called dukkha dukkha. The second one is called viparinama dukkha. Third one is called sankara dukkha. So dukkha dukkha is suffering that we are getting at present in this life as a result of our past action. But the dukkha dukkha portion can be eradicated by asking for forgiveness, transferring merits, and wishing them well. That is what Angulimala did. Lord Buddha explained the technique to Angulimala. I'm sure all of you have heard of a man called Angulimala who killed more than 1,000 people. And Lord Buddha went to him and rescued him before he committed Anantariya Papa Karma. He was about to kill his mother. Lord Buddha rescued him from there and brought him to the Vihara, ordained him as a monk, and within 3 months, this Angulimala became Angulimala Maha Arahat. He managed to eradicate all that dukkha dukkha by practicing that meditation technique, which I'm going to explain to you later. So that dukkha dukkha part can be eradicated, and that is not what Lord Buddha is explaining in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. Now understand this clearly, right? So that part Lord Buddha has explained separately. It is at the end of Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra also, but it is not in the Four Noble Truths. Then the second part is viparinama dukkha. Viparinama dukkha is the dukkha that is coming to us as a result of our past karma, which cannot be eradicated. Now, Lord Buddha said there are two types of suffering, two types of sins that we cannot eradicate. The first one is Anantariya Papa Karma, which Venerable Moggallana did. And as a result of that, even after becoming Arahat, he was killed by bandits because he assaulted his mother and father and killed them and went to the four hells. And finally, he managed to become a human being. I will explain to you how that happened. And even still, he had to suffer for it. Even his death as an Arahat monk, he had to suffer in the same way. So those are the suffering that cannot be eradicated by asking for forgiveness, transferring our merits, and wishing them well. Now, the third part of suffering, Sankhara Dukkha. Sankhara Dukkha is the dukkha that we create as a result of our present action. By doing Sankhara in the present moment, and that is what Lord Buddha explains in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, how to eradicate Sankhara Dukkha. You may not understand this fully at this stage, but as I go on, I will explain it in more detail. Then you will be able to understand Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra better. So the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, Lord Buddha is explaining how to eradicate Sankhara Dukkha. In other words, how to stop creating Sankhara. In other words, how to stop doing unwholesome things and how to do wholesome things. Unwholesome thoughts, unwholesome action, and unwholesome qualities. How to stop them and how to improve, develop, and maximize wholesome thoughts, wholesome action, and wholesome qualities. That's what Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra is all about. This is where most people who try to explain Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra get mixed up and end up in a muddle and being unable to explain Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. So it is very important. You may not understand it fully at this stage, but I will explain it in more detail later, right? But for the time being, all I want you to understand is the meaning of the word sang. If you use the word sang at the beginning of any word, that means that action, whatever you do, involves raga, dvesha, moha. So Sothapanna person has become Sammaditthi. He knows exactly how to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha. So that's one quality the Sothapanna person has, right? That's one quality. The second quality is he has 7 Buddha jhanas. The four Buddha jhanas that Lord Buddha explained in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra: Dukkha jnanam, Dukkha samudaya jnanam, Dukkha nirodha jnanam, Dukkha nirodhagamini patipada jnanam, plus the 3 wisdoms he gains by listening to Dhamma. So the Sothapanna person, if anyone asks you what is a Sothapanna person, he's a person who has listened to Dhamma, practiced Dhamma and comprehended Dhamma, and he has attained 7 Buddha jhanas, right? For his first quality. Second quality is he is Sammaditthi. Once a person has attained those 7 qualities, he has become Sammaditthi. He knows how to eradicate raga, dvesha, moha completely, but he hasn't done it yet. He has completed the first fold of the Noble Eightfold Path, and he's called Sothapanna. So Sotha means Nibbana Marga in Magadhi language. Apanna means arrived. So that person has arrived in the Nibbana Marga, right? And there are other qualities that the Sothapanna person has. Now, in Ratana Sutra, Lord Buddha says, Sahavassa dassana sampadaya tayassu dhamma jahida bhavanti sakkaya ditti vichikichikancha silabbatang vapi yachachikinchi chatu apaye hicha vippamutto. In Ratana Sutra, Lord Buddha has explained the good qualities of the Sangha. Sangha is a Sothapanna person. So here, Lord Buddha is saying, a person who has listened to Dhamma and got a vision of Dhamma. Sahavassa dassana sampadaya. Dassana means, darshana, vision. So a person who has got the correct vision of Dhamma, he says, he has eradicated 3 of the 10 Sangyojana. Now the word Sang comes here again. Sangyojana means defilements. So Sang means, now in Magadhi language, they are called 10 Sangyojanas, Dasa Sangyojana. I'm sure if you have read the Tripitaka or if you know Pali, and if you have listened to Dhamma, you must have come across this word, Dasa Sangyojana. So again, Dasa means 10, Sang means Raga, Dvesha, Moha, Yojana means bonds. So there are 10 bonds that binds the person to the samsara with Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So out of those 10 bonds, the Sothapanna person has eradicated 3. So here Lord Buddha is saying, Sahavas dasana sampadaya tayasudamma jahida bhavanti. Sakkaya ditti vichikichikancha silabbatang vapi achachikinchi. So the first 3 bonds, Sakkaya ditti, vichikicha, silabbata paramasa, Sothapanna person has completely eradicated. He will never ever get it again. I will explain it to you in detail. What is Sakkaya ditti, what is Vichikicha, and what is Silabbata Paramasa. The other 7 bonds, he will eradicate 2 of them between the second level and the 3rd level of enlightenment. The Sakuddagami, Anagami, he will eradicate. First 3 are Sakkaya ditti, Vichikicha, Silabbata Paramasa, then Kamaraga, Patiga. Those 2 he will eradicate between Sakuddagami and Anagami. The 5 most difficult bonds, the last 5 Samyojanas are the most difficult ones to eradicate, and he will eradicate them at the Arahat level. That's why it's so difficult to become Arahat and so easy to become Sothapanna. That's why you all can become Sothapanna, but it's difficult to become Arahat. It will take time. But if you put your mind to it, nothing is impossible. Everything is possible. There are many, many Sothapanna monks and people in this world, but there are very few Arahats. So at Arahat level, what he will eradicate is Ruparaga, Aruparaga, Mana, Uddacha, Avidya, the last 5 Sangyojanas. So the word Sang appears here again. Excuse me. So another quality of the Sothapanna person is he has permanently eradicated Sakkaya ditti, Vichikicha, Silabbata Paramasa. Now, what is Sakkaya ditti? What is Vichikicha? What is Silabbata Paramasa? I will explain it briefly here, and I will explain it in more detail as we go on through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. Sakkaya ditti means the wrong understanding that a person has, a Pruthakjana person who does not know Dhamma, has a wrong understanding of life. He believes that we are here to satisfy the 6 senses, Sakkaya. That's eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and the mind. That's what the Pruthakjana person who doesn't know Buddha Dhamma, that's what he does all his life. Just think about it. From the moment a person wakes up and until he goes to bed in the night, if he doesn't know Dhamma, all he's trying to do, he's working hard, educating himself, getting qualifications, going to university, getting degrees, getting a good job, working hard, earning money, doing all this to satisfy these 6 senses, right? If there's anything else he's trying to do, let me know. I can prove it to you. There's nothing else. It's these 6 senses he's trying to prove. That is what a person is trying to do all his life. From the moment a person is born, he will accumulate 3 things until he dies. He will accumulate people, he will accumulate knowledge, he will accumulate wealth. All this accumulation is done with Raga, Dvesha, Moha. And these things that he has accumulated, he will use them to create more Raga, Dvesha, Moha. I will explain it to you in detail later. Because he has a Sakkaya ditti, He believes that life is there to enjoy, to satisfy these six senses. So he will work all his life to satisfy these six senses, Lord Buddha explained. And that is what you mean by kami sumichachara veramani sikkhapadan samadhyami. Now today kami sumichachara is explained as sexual misconduct. That's totally wrong. Kami sumichachara means, kama means, indulging in unnecessary pleasure or mentally fabricated pleasure. And sexual misconduct is only one of them. There are thousands of ways a person can indulge himself in mentally fabricated pleasure to satisfy his eyes, ears, nose, body, tongue, and the mind. So that's what the average person does. And so the person who has become Sothapanna will realize that this process is wrong. If I keep doing this, I will end up in four hells. So I must stop that. I must try and stop it, and he will take a U-turn. He cannot stop it overnight, 100%. It's only Arhat person who has stopped it completely. But he will know what it is and the consequences of doing that. And he will try to come out of it gradually. That's what the Sothapanna person does. So he has instead of Sakkaya Ditti, he has Samma Ditti, right? So Samma Ditti means he knows how to eradicate Raga, Desha, Moha. So he has eradicated Sakkaya Ditti completely. He has come to Samma Ditti. Once you have eradicated Sakkaya Ditti, then the Vichikiccha and Silabbata Paramasa will automatically be eradicated. Because Vichikiccha means the doubt you have about Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. So if you comprehend Dhamma, the Four Noble Truths, and realize that these four are correct, and this is how suffering is created through the Panchaskandha and the Pancha Upadana Skandha, you will believe in it, then you will believe Dhamma, and you will believe the Sangha who taught that Dhamma to you, and you will believe the Buddha who discovered this Dhamma or rediscovered this Dhamma. So you will have no doubt about Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha whatsoever. So you have eradicated that completely. So that's another quality, the second Sangyojana, that a Sothapanna person will eradicate. And the third one will also be automatically eradicated once you become Sammaditthi. The third one is Silabbata Paramasa. Silabbata Paramasa means anything that people do outside the Noble Eightfold Path to become Sothapanna. Now, in the Noble Eightfold, comprehend Dhamma and become Sothapanna, Arahato, whatever. Now, in the Noble Eightfold Path, Lord Buddha has clearly explained what a person has to do in order to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Anything outside that, what do we do? Anything outside that as Buddhist people? We do offer pujas. We do pujas of flowers, joss sticks, candle lights, various kinds of lights, all kinds of pujas. All we have borrowed from Hinduism. And those have nothing to do with Buddhism or Lord Buddha's teachings. And a person who has become Sothapanna will realize that, comprehend that, and he will stop doing them. Because he will realize that it's not Buddha Dhamma. They don't have anything to do with eradicating Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So the Sothapanna person would have eradicated 3 out of the 10 bonds. The 3 are Sakkaya Ditti, Vichikiccha, Silabbata Paramasa. I explained them here very briefly. I will explain them in more detail later as I go through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. But if you want any clarifications, further clarifications, I give you 2 hours to ask questions. Please feel free to question me and I will explain you in more detail. Right? So far what I have explained to you is what is Sammaditthi, what is Sothapanna, and what is what are the 7 wisdoms that a Sotapanna person will get. And then what is Sammaditthi? What is the Noble Eightfold Path? And then what are the 3 Sangyojanas? The 3 bonds that binds the person to samsara, which a Sotapanna person has eradicated. The Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikiccha, Silabbata, Paramasa. So out of these things, if you are not clear of anything, you can question me and I will explain you in more detail during the question time. Now let me go further. So a Sotapanna, that is what Sotapanna means. So Sotapanna person, if anyone asks you what is Sotapanna, that person has 7 Buddha Jnanas, 7 wisdoms, and he has also attained Sammaditthi, the first level of enlightenment. He has arrived at the Nibbana Marga. Sothapanna. Sotha is Nibbana Marga. Apanna means arrived at. And he has eradicated 3 of the 10 bonds that binds him to his samsara. And also in the same Gatha, Lord Buddha says, Sahavasya Dasana Sampadaya Tayasu Dhamma Jahida Bhavanti Sakkaya Ditthi Vicikicchikancha Silabbatang Vapi Yachachchikinchi. He has eradicated 3 bonds. Chatu Apaye Hicha, which means he will never ever go to the 4 hells for the rest of his samsara. Because he, by becoming Sotapanna, by eradicating certain amount of his raga, dvesha, moha, and he has eradicated any sins that will take him to the 4 hells in the future. And also, he will not commit any sankara that is strong enough to take him to the 4 hells. So as a result of that, in his last thoughts when he's dying, he will never ever get raga, desha, moha thoughts into his mind. He will always get maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka thoughts into his mind. And that is the reason why he will never ever go to the 4 hells again. So this is the main benefit that the person will have by becoming Sotapanna. He will never ever go to the 4 hells again. And now the other side of that is, Lord Buddha explains in the Chutta Sutra, if a person has not become Sotapanna by the time he dies, he has guaranteed that that person will go to the 4 hells. Now this is where it is very, very serious. I don't know how many of you have read the Chutta Sutras. I explained it briefly in the previous session in season 3. I will explain it in little more detail today. Before Lord Buddha delivered the Chutta Sutra, he takes a little bit of earth from the ground to his hand and shows it to the people who were listening to Dhamma, his disciples, and says, please compare the amount of soil in my hand against the amount of soil on the ground, and let me know your thoughts. Then the people say, look, Lord Buddha, the amount of soil you have in your hand is very little, and the amount of soil on the ground is huge, is incomparable, less than 1%. So Lord Buddha said, similarly, by the time when the human beings die, it's only a very tiny proportion of people who have become Sotapanna or higher, Sotapanna, Sakundagami, Anagami, Arahat, and they will not go to the 4 hells. All the others, anyone who hasn't become Sotapanna, will go to the 4 hells. He has clearly said that, right? If you learn Dhamma, if someone wants to ignore Dhamma and say this is all, Malcolm and Boulder Dash, I don't understand this, forget about it, and we live happily, good luck to them. But if you want to make sure that you learn correct Buddha Dhamma and become Sotapanna, learn these things and think about them. Don't just believe, right? Don't become a believer. Become a thinker. And Lord Buddha's Dhamma is science. right? Lord Buddha's Dhamma is mainly physics, and also it includes certain areas, chemistry, biology, mathematics, statistics, and so on, but it's mainly physics. And there's a physics professor in USA called Dr. Lal Pinadua, who's originally from Sri Lanka, and he hosts a website called Pure Dhamma. Go to that website, very, very good website. And in that, he compares physics to Lord Buddha's teachings, and he explains that modern physics have discovered less than what Lord Buddha discovered of this universe. Lord Buddha explained universal laws. Buddha Dhamma means universal laws. Lord Buddha said, I am explaining you Suva Asuva Dahasak Dhammaskanda. Suva means good things that you should do. Asura means bad things you shouldn't do. Dhamma means universal laws. Kanda means mountain, uncountable number, a huge mountain. So he said, I discovered the huge mountain of universal laws, out of which I am explaining you what you should do and shouldn't do. And also, while traveling through the forest once, Lord Buddha picks up 4 leaves from a tree, showed it to his disciples and said, look, the amount of Dhamma, the universal laws that I discovered and comprehended. I mean, Samma Sambuddha rediscovers them. He said that the amount of Dhamma I rediscovered and comprehended is more than the number of leaves in this entire forest. Can you count the number of leaves in the forest? That's impossible. There's a huge number. So that's what he meant, you know. He said it's a huge number. And the amount of Dhamma that I am explaining to you is equivalent to these 4 leaves, and that is called the 4 Noble Truths. 4 Noble Truths are Noble Truth of suffering, Noble Truth of reason for suffering, Noble Truth of out of suffering, and the Noble Truth of the way out of suffering. That's all we human beings need to know in order to eradicate our Sankara Dukkha completely and eradicate suffering. That's all we need to know, right? Lord Buddha has also explained how to eradicate Dukkha, and Viparinama Dukkha is the part we cannot eradicate, we have to suffer. And in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, he has explained how to eradicate Sankara Dukkha. And that's what we are going to learn. So it's very, very important to learn these basic terms and the meanings of them. Without learning them, one cannot comprehend Dhamma. So here Lord Buddha explains, in the Chutta Sutra, he explains in detail what happens to a person when he dies. I know I have gone slightly over the time, but let me finish this bit quickly and then give you time to ask questions. So in the Chutta Sutra, Lord Buddha says, when a person dies, by the time a person dies, if he has become Arhat, there's only one place he can go to, that is the best place, and that is called Nibbana. I will explain to you what Nibbana is later, why it is greater than everything else. It's a permanent place where there is no suffering, and it has permanent happiness. We'll discuss it in more detail later. So that's where an Arahat person will go. And if a person has attained 3rd level of enlightenment, Anagami, he will go to a good Brahmaloka. Now, Lord Buddha said there are 31 planes in the Milky Way that we live. You know, in today's scientific word is Milky Way. Lord Buddha called it Loka. So this Loka is made up of 31 planes, he said. In the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, he explains 20 Brahmaloka, 6 Divyaloka, the Manushya Loka, and the 4 hells. 4 hells are animal kingdom, ghost kingdom, then the inferior ghost kingdom. In English, you know, there are no proper English words in the English language to explain these things. But in Lord Buddha's language, he said 20 Brahmaloka, 6 Divyaloka, Manushya Loka. So that's 26 plus 1, 27. Then the 4 hells, he said, animal loka, that is Sattva Loka, or Tirisang. Tirisang, he said, Tirisang Loka. Again, you get these 3 sons, Raga, Dvesha, Moha. You know, because animals have more Raga, Dvesha, Moha than us. He called this Tirisang Loka, 3 sons. In English, we call it animal kingdom. Then he said the Bhuta Loka. Bhuta Loka is, I will explain to you what it is later. Bhuta Loka, then the Preta Loka, and the hell itself. So those are the 4 hells. So Lord Buddha explained that if a person has become anagami, the 3rd level of enlightenment, he will go to 4 of the good Brahmalokas. Out of the 20 Brahmalokas, he said 4 are good, 16 are bad. Now, who goes to the good Brahmalokas? Those who have practiced correct Dhamma, practiced correct meditation, and attain the 3rd level of enlightenment. And they are the 2nd best next to Arahat. So they will go to this good Brahmaloka. They will never come back to the human world again. That's why they call Anagami. Agami means coming back. Anagami means they are not coming back. That is a good place to go to, and they will complete their path and go to Nibbana one day, depending on their paramita, whether they take a short time or long time. That depends on them. What are the 16 bad Brahmalokas and who goes there? These 16 bad Brahmalokas are called Asanya Thala. Asanya means they are not getting Sanya. They are not getting Rupa, Vedana, Sanya. Where you will learn them when I explain to you the Panchaskanda. So the people who went there were, you will remember, Alarakalama and Uddakarama. Lord Gautama Bodhisattva's first 2 teachers. When Prince Siddhartha left the palace and became a monk, the first teacher that he went to was Alarakalama. I'm sure you have heard of it. You must have read it in the books. Then he went to Uddakarama. And he learned everything from them. And he practiced their meditation techniques. And because those people were practicing Hindu meditation techniques, which takes people to Asanya Thala. Hindu meditation techniques based on breathing. And thirdly, only Lord Buddha met the Panchavagya Bhikkhu. They were also practicing the same meditation, breathing meditation. Because Buddha, Samma Sambuddha's meditation had disappeared by that time. Pure Buddha Dhamma had disappeared. Pure Buddhist meditation has disappeared. So it was Gautama Bodhisattva who rediscovered pure Buddhist meditation, which he explained in the Dveda Vitakka Sutra and the Vitakka Santana Sutra, which I will explain to you as we go on. And he explained that in more detail, how to practice it in Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra and Girimananda Sutra, and also in the Anapanasati Samadhi Sutra. So the Girimananda Sutra, Mahasatara Satipatthana Sutra, and the Anapanasati Samadhi Sutra, then Dveda Vitakka Sutra, Vitakka Santana Sutra, these 5 sutras purely deal with meditation, Buddhist meditation. So when we talk about them, you will realize how different Buddhist meditation is from Hindu meditation. It has nothing to do with breathing. I know when we started meditation, we were, I asked you to take 3 deep breaths. That's not what I mean. That is samatha. But the long meditation techniques that Hindus practice, there are 30 of them. There are 40 of them. Buddha Gosha called them Samasatalis Bhavana. And they are all based on breathing, long-term breathing techniques. And those who practice those meditations, they become asanya. That's what happened to Alarakalama, Uddakarama, and Asita. Remember when Prince Siddhartha was born, The first man to came to see him was Asita, ascetic Asita. It is in Buddha Dhamma as well. It is in Bodhisattva Ambedkar's Buddha and his Dhamma as well. When we teach Dhamma to children from that book, I'm sure you must have read it. Those who are Ambedkarite Buddhists, those who have read Dr. Ambedkar's Buddha and his Dhamma, in that also it is mentioned, Asita, ascetic Asita came to see Prince Siddhartha, and first he laughed and secondly he cried. Then Prince Suddhodana, King Suddhodana asked him, why you first laughed and secondly you cried. Then Asita explained, I laughed because I see that this little boy will become a Samma Sambuddha one day. Then King Suddhodana asked, why you cried? Then he said, by that time, I will not be able to listen to his Dhamma because I'll be in the bad Brahmaloka, right? So those bad Brahmalokas, you cannot listen to Dhamma. The same thing happened to Alara Kalama, Uddhakarama. After attaining Buddhahood, Gautama Lord Buddha, first he wanted to help his teachers. He looked at Alara Kalama. He was in Asanyatala, in the bad Brahmaloka. He can't listen to Dhamma. Secondly, he looked at Uddhakarama. He was also in bad Brahmaloka. Then only he looked at the others, the friends who helped him. That was the Panchavagya Bhikkhu, Konnanya Bhadevappa Mahanamassaji, who were luckily still alive in the human world. And he could help them. So he went to see them, went to Sipatana Rama to see them from Sri Mahabodhi and delivered Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra to them. So I'm trying to explain to you what are Asanyatala. So there are 16 of them. And if you go to them, who goes there? People who do wrong meditation, like Alara Kalama, Uddhakarama, and Asita. And they will end up in those. And what happens in those is they cannot listen to Dhamma because they have no eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body. They only have a mind. So they do not get any sanya, any messages coming into their mind. They cannot practice Dhamma. So they will be there until all their merits run out. Because there's no serious suffering there. Their merits will gradually run out. Once all the merits runs out, they'll be left with the sins. They will fall straight back into the four hells to start the whole process again. Trillions and trillions of years they will have to suffer in the four hells again before they get a human life. That's what Lord Buddha explained in the Brahmajala Sutra. Those who have read Brahmajala Sutra will know. In the Brahmajala Sutra, Lord Buddha says, don't get caught to this Brahmajala. Brahmajala means jala is a net. In the Sinhala language, we call Antarjala. Antarjala means internet. So jala means net in Magadhi language as well as in our language. So Lord Buddha says, don't get caught to this Brahmajala, Brahma net, because if you get caught to that, you'll be stuck there for a long time in those 16 bad Brahmalokas, then you will go straight into hell. So that is why it is very important to practice correct meditation and not the wrong meditation. I myself practiced the wrong meditation for 50 years because I didn't know. That's what my father taught me. But after becoming a monk, I was fortunate enough to learn correct Buddha Dhamma, I met the Arhat monks in Sri Lanka in the forest, learned Dhamma from them, and then came here back to UK and read the Tripitaka, and I saw that what they explained to me agrees with what is in the old Tripitaka. I was fortunate enough to come out of that because maybe I have done some good karma in the past, but most monks I know in Sri Lanka and in Thailand, Burma, and all over the place, they practice this wrong meditation technique and they are stuck in the route that takes them to this bad Brahmaloka. And it's very, very difficult to get them out of it because they believe that they are in the correct path. So this is why it's very, very important to learn correct Dhamma and practice correct meditation. I hope you get the point. And then we come to the next level, Sothapanna. Sothapanna and Sakudagami. So Anagami people goes there. Then there are 6 Divyalokas, Lord Buddha said. Out of the 6 Divyalokas, 2 are good, 4 are bad. Who goes to the good Divyaloka? Why they are good? Because they don't have the extremes, 2 extremes. The 2 extremes are, Lord Buddha said, excuse me. Kama Sukallikan Yoga and Atta Kilamatan Yoga. I will explain it to you in more detail later. The 2 extremes, you don't get the 2 unnecessary, a lot of unnecessary pleasure and so on. It is not there. And unnecessary suffering is also not there. It's a place where there is very little suffering. And the people who go there will have their basic necessities provided without any suffering. The most important thing is they will have Dhamma. So all the superior beings who are in these 2 good Divyalokas are all Sotapanna Sakudagami. Living and learning with them is the pleasure, because they are very different from the world that we live in, which is full of Pruthakjana, people who are full of Raga, Dvesha, Moha. So those who go to those Divyalokas are fortunate people who have become Sotapanna Sakudagami, and they will learn Dhamma from there without any suffering. Then they become Anagami and they move into a better place, good Brahmaloka, and from there they will move into the Nibbana, which is the best place. So that's where the Sotapanna people go after becoming Sotapanna and Sakudagami. And the Sotapanna people, some of them, very few of them, could come back to the human world to, help people more and accumulate more merits by helping people. It depends on their wishes, their prarthana, and then they will go back to the good Divyaloka again, but they will never ever fall back into the 4 hells. Then who goes to the bad Divyaloka? Those who go to the bad Divyaloka are people who are doing all kinds of pujas and offerings and this and that, giving and asking for comforts. Now, we all know people who give dana, lots of dana, but if they give dana and they ask for more, then they are giving dana with raga, dvesha, moha, not with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka. Lord Buddha said, when we give dana, and if you want to do it correctly, whatever the merits that we accumulate by offering dana, we should share those merits with the rest of the living beings living on the 31 planes. And with the power of those merits, we should wish Nibbana for all of us. That's the way to get the best out of giving dana, or the merits that we earn out of dana. But most people, when they give dana, they give with the intention of getting more. They will give some dana and say, please, let me get more money, more qualifications, more friends, more this, more that will help them to continue this samsara. So those people will get more. Where in the bad Divyalokas? Bad Divyalokas are like nightclubs. They have more enjoyment, more of everything what human beings like to have. And they have a jolly good life there for a short time until the merits run out. And once the merits run out, they are left with the sins and they fall back into the 4 hells. Right? So remember, giving dana, engaging in meritorious deeds is very good, but it must be done with maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka thoughts and not with raga, dvesha, moha thoughts. If you do it with raga, dvesha, moha thoughts, you will get some jolly good life for a short time in a bad Divyaloka, and you will fall into the 4 hells. So these are very, very important Dhamma points that Lord Buddha has explained in the Chutta Sutra and also in several other sutras. Then those who are in the Sothapanna Marga, there are people like you who learn Dhamma and you are in the Sothapanna Marga. So by the time you die, it's possible that you become Sothapanna, then you are okay. If you don't become Sothapanna, then you are in the Marga, you are in the path. So when you are only in the path, what happens is, you could go either way. That is the danger. You see, you could go either way. In the last moment, if you get Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeka, wholesome thoughts, you will come back to the human world again. You will get another chance to become Sothapanna. But if you get Raga, Dvesha, Moha thoughts, you will go back to the four hells again. So if you want to have a guarantee that you will never become, never go to the four hells, as Lord Buddha explained in Ratana Sutra, Lord Buddha explained, if you become Sothapanna, you will never ever go to the four hells. Remember, he said, Sahavasa Dasana Sampadaya, Tayasu Dhamma Jahida Bhavanti, Sakkaya Dittha Vichikichikancha, Silabbatang Vapi Yachachikinchi, Chatu Apaye Hicha Vipramutto. So a person who has attained all that and become Sothapanna will never ever go to the Chatu Apaya, the four hells. So if you want to have a guarantee that you will never ever go to the four hells for the rest of your samsara, the only way to do is by becoming Sothapanna. And that is why becoming Sothapanna is so vital for a human being. That's why Lord Buddha said, if you are born as a human being and your ambition, your mission, your target, your main objective should be to become Sothapanna. It doesn't mean that you throw away everything else, go to the forest and meditate. No, he didn't mean that. Now, when Lord Buddha was living, the population of Sravasti is the place, it was called Sevat Nuara at the time. Nuara means city, you know that. And Sevat Nuara, the population of Sevat Nuara was 60 million people. Out of the 60 million, he says more than 75%, more than 90% were Buddhist, and more than 75% were Sothapanna. And out of the 75%, over 70% were lay people. People who were living normal lives, engaging in employment, doing businesses and so on to earn a living, but they gave priority to listening to Dhamma, practicing Dhamma, and became Sothapanna, right? Those things happens only when a Samma Sambuddha is living. Such high percentage of Sothapannas turn out. But even today, you all can become Sothapanna by listening to Dhamma, because it's only a tiny minority in the world who listen to correct Dhamma. You go through the internet today and listen to all the preachers who preach in English. There isn't a single person on the internet who teaches correct Dhamma in English. And in Sri Lanka, I know I was born in Sri Lanka and I lived there until I was 19. I have been in the UK for 45 years now, but I go to Sri Lanka almost every year. In Sri Lanka, more than 75% are Buddhists, but only 1% of them have comprehended correct Dhamma and practiced correct Dhamma. Same with the monks. And the rest, they don't know what correct Dhamma is, right? But in your case, you have got the opportunity to listen to correct Dhamma. You are very, very fortunate because you have done some great merits in previous lives. That's why you are getting Kalyana Mitra Sevana and Sirisadharma Shravana, two of the most important things, two of the four important things that you need to become Sothapanna. In Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, Lord Buddha says there are four things that you have to do in order to comprehend the Four Noble Truths. which I will explain to you as and when I go through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra in the next session. And those four things are Lord Buddha says, Kalyana Mitra Sevana. That means, Kalyana means, Kal doesn't mean time. Kal means klesha, raga, dvesha, moha in Magadhi language. Kalyana means removing klesha. So a person, you see now, a lot of words are misinterpreted today. Now, for example, now the word kal, kala, kali, kalo, I will explain to you in Mangala Sutra. Lord Buddha said, Kalena Dhamma Savanang etam Mangala Muttamang. Kalena Dhamma Sakachaya etam Mangala Muttamang. All these words are misinterpreted today. Kala doesn't mean time. Kala means klesha. So Kalena Dhamma Savanang means you listen to Dhamma that helps you to eradicate Raga, Dvesha, Moha. It doesn't mean listen to Dhamma at the correct time. There's no correct time to listen to Dhamma. Every time is the correct time. Today, if you look at the interpretation of Mangala Sutra, you will see in any book, any Tripitaka other than the old Tripitaka that you have in the British Library, Kalena Dhamma Savanam. They have translated that as listen to Dhamma at the correct time. The word Kala, they are interpreting as time. Kala doesn't mean time in Magadhi language. Kala means klesha, raga, dvesha, moha. So Kalena Dhamma Savanam means listen to Dhamma, it helps you to eradicate klesha, raga, dvesha, moha. Kalena Dhamma Sakacha. You discuss Dhamma, which helps you to eradicate klesha, raga, dvesha, moha. So it is translated as listen to Dhamma and discuss Dhamma at the correct time. So with these wrong interpretations, it's impossible for people to understand Dhamma today. It's a sad fact. Anyway, I will explain those things as I go on. So here, all I wanted to explain to you, the importance of becoming Sothapanna. I think I have made my point. You have understood it. I spent a lot of time now. Instead of 1 hour, I think I have taken about 2 hours. Let me think. We have taken nearly 1 hour, 45 minutes for the sermon, but doesn't matter. It's all for the good. And I will stop the sermon there and give you time to ask any questions. Please feel free to ask any number of questions. I don't mind sitting here and answering you for 3 hours, as long as it's for the benefit, it's good for the people, and it is useful to you to become Sothapanna. I know all of you can become Sothapanna. I will explain you the reasons why. Next time, I don't have the time now. But if you ask me during question time, I will explain you. So I will stop the sermon there and give you time to ask any questions. Please feel free to ask any question from what we discussed so far. Don't go beyond that. We have discussed enough today, and you can ask thousands of questions what we discussed so far. And if you go to the next step and ask me questions, then I will have to explain you the next sermon before I answer those questions. So please, when you ask questions, be careful that you're asking questions from what we discussed so far, and I will answer. Make your question brief and to the point. Thank you.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, Bhante.
You're welcome, Archana.
Bhante, I have a question. You mentioned that there are 40 techniques for
what is your name, sir?
Yeah, I am Rajat Raut. I am
Okay.
based in Denver, Colorado right now.
Yes.
You mentioned that there are 40 techniques for breathing and meditation. So could you please explain how should one who is pretty new go about learning those?
Very good question, but you're asking a question from what I am going to explain in the future, right?
Okay.
I haven't explained the meditation techniques yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I will be explaining the meditation techniques in the future. As I go through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, I will be explaining the Dveda Vitakka Sutra and the Vitakka Santana Sutra, where Lord Buddha has explained how he discovered the correct Buddhist meditation, how he practiced it. Through the practice of that, how he managed to eradicate Raga Dvesha Moha completely and maximize Maitri Karuna Mudita Upekka, what he has explained in that Gatha, Sabba Papa Sakaranam Kusala Supasampada. Through that process, how he maximized his wisdom to the highest level, comprehended Dhamma, and became Samma Sambuddha. Right? I will explain all that in the future. It's a very good question, but ask that question at the right time, and I will explain it in detail. Okay, sir?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Any other questions, anyone? I think it's getting dark here. Please allow me to put the lights on.
It was very long. 2 hours. Yeah. I think more than 2 hours. But
Yeah, Bhanteji, we have one question in the chat box.
Yes, sir. Someone is asking a question.
Yeah, this is a question in the chat box, Bhante.
Yes.
Don't know the name, but the question is, does Sothapanna person recognizes that he has become Sothapanna?
Yes, he does. The straightforward answer is he does. Only he will know that he has become Sothapanna, and others cannot say. Only a Samma Sambuddha can say whether a person is Sothapanna or not. But others can guess. Others can see a change in him. But no one can say for sure whether a person is Sothapanna or not. The Sothapanna person will know. If you become Sothapanna, you will have no doubt whatsoever. Right? You will know that what is Sammaditi, you know what is Sang, and you know the Four Noble Truths at the first level. You will understand from the very beginning the Four Noble Truths, suffering, reason for suffering, out of suffering, and the way out of suffering, all that which I will explain in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. So basically, you will know that you are Sothapanna. Yes. Good question. Any other questions, anyone? If you have become Sothapanna, you will have no doubts. Right? I know there are some people, they say, oh, I think I am Sothapanna, but I am not sure this, that. That means he is not Sothapanna. If you are Sothapanna, you will have no doubts whatsoever. Any other questions, anyone? Sorry, I did the sermon a little longer than I expected. But it happens sometimes, when you start explaining, you have to explain things properly, irrespective of the time. You see, when Lord Buddha explained Dhamma, he used to go on till morning. Unfortunately, we are not that capable. But I can go on for 3 or 4 hours. It says remove pin.
Vandami Bhanteji.
Namo Buddhaya Jai Bhim. Is that Archana?
No, this is Vinaya Bhanteji.
Hello, Vinay.
Namo Buddhaya. How are you,
Namo Buddhaya
Bhanteji?
Jai Bhim. So nice to hear from you. I
Like,
thought you were
likewise.
playing tennis this morning.
No, Bhanteji, no. Actually, we are at home and I joined in the middle.
Okay.
Milind had to rush to India
Okay.
for his brother. So that's the
Oh,
reason.
yes, Pankaj told me.
Yeah,
Pankaj
yeah.
told. Pankaj
Yeah.
is also not well, you know. He's staying with us, you know that.
Oh, yeah, he was staying with you, but what happened, Bhanteji?
He's got the same problem as me.
Oh, the cough.
Cough and, you know, yeah, it's mainly the cough.
Okay, Bhanteji, I'll write to him. Is his India number working?
I think
Or-
so, yes. But he's mostly using his UK number.
Okay, okay.
I think he's sleeping downstairs now. I'm on the top floor and he's on the ground floor. I met him this morning and he said he had some antibiotics last night and he's going to take a good rest because he has been working very, very hard during the past 4 weeks or so, you know.
Hmm.
And also everyone has got this cough now. It's everywhere in the UK.
Yeah, Bhanteji, it was here also in US, India also, and this time this cycle was little longer, like 2 weeks.
Yes.
Usually it's 1 or 2 days, 3-4 days, but this time around it was very long for.
Stayed with me for 2 months.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
Yeah, here it takes months. We have some students who have been suffering for 4 months now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh.
what's your question, Vinay?
Yeah, Bhanteji. So hope Pankaj feels better. I'll connect with him offline.
Okay.
So Bhanteji, my question, and I don't know whether I heard fully because I joined in the middle.
Yes.
The question is, did you mention that if we are unable to become Sothapanna in this life,
Yes.
then we are bound to go in the four hells?
Yes, that's what Lord Buddha said in the Suthra.
Mm-hmm.
He said that clearly. That is why it is so important to become Sothapanna, you know, because if you don't become Sothapanna, in the last moment, the final thoughts that will come to you you'll be either thinking of, the 3 things you have accumulated: your knowledge, your people, your wealth. Those are the 3 things that will come to your mind. Would you agree or not?
Okay, but Bhanteji, by that logic is consider we are all reborn, all the human beings.
Yeah.
Then in our past life, since we are here,
Yes.
that means we had good karma and we didn't go to four hells.
Well, how do you know you are a human being?
Sorry?
How do you know for sure that you are a human being?
No, so right now, are we not saying we are human beings?
We are human beings now, yes.
Yeah, so
I could have been a
we
dog in my previous life.
Agreed. But imagine that if we are saying that in this life we don't become Sothapanna, then definitely we are going in four hells.
Well, when definitely you say, there's a little exception. Lord Buddha said, if you are in the Sothapanna Marga, like you are now, right?
Okay.
There's a 50% chance, if you are close to becoming Sothapanna, there's a 50% chance that you will not get Raga Desha Moha thoughts and you will get a chance to become a human being again, right? But do you want to gamble on that?
Okay, so Bhanteji, since we were saying that we are now, you are our Kalyan Mitra and we are listening to the Dhamma, so we are already on the path because we have started that journey.
But don't count on it. You see, Lord Buddha said, don't count on it, right?
Sure.
Don't depend on it because there's no guarantee there. So the guarantee he has given in the Ratana Sutra only for the Sothapanna person, right?
Understood.
So if you don't become Sothapanna, if you think I am okay, I can play a bit of tennis on Sunday and go swimming on Monday and listen to Dhamma here and there and still stay in the path, there's no guarantee. Sorry, I don't mean to launch a personal attack on you. I'm just making a point. That's what most people do. You see? People think,
Understood.
okay, I listen to Dhamma and I do a bit of meditation, this, that. I'm okay. Rest of the time, I listen to music. I go and play tennis, and I go swimming, and I go and see movies, this, that. You know, they are taking a huge risk.
Understood, Bhanteji. But I'm just trying to just extrapolate. If
Yeah.
from this life, if we are going to not become a Sothapanna,
Yeah.
then, but if you are on the mark, then 50% chance to come back to human life or go back to hell, right?
Well,
So,
I don't know the exact percentage. I'm just
yeah,
getting.
I mean, yeah,
Lord Buddha hasn't
likelihood.
given a percentage, right? What is
Sure.
important is, as human beings, he said, get that insurance policy, get that guarantee that you will not go to the four hells, right? That's what he recommended. So the guarantee is to become Sothapanna. To become Sothapanna, what do we have to do? Is we don't have to climb a mountain, right? It's not difficult, it's possible. You know, Lord Buddha said everyone can become Sothapanna, maximum 7 years, right?
Yeah.
He said 1% can become Sothapanna, about the tiny proportion, within 7 days. Then the next category within 7 weeks, next category within 7 months, and very tiny proportion will be left up to 7 years, provided they learn Dhamma and practice Dhamma, right? The problem with our people is they learn Dhamma, but they don't practice Dhamma. Right?
Yeah.
You know, practicing is very, very important. That's why I give, you know, that the way to practice it. In the last session, I explained to people, practice this way. Just spend 2 hours a day, you know, in my program. I don't say spend 20 hours, just 2 hours, less than 10% of the time that is available to us. I believe that is enough to become Sothapanna if one really spends that 2 hours a day for 7 months. People like you all have good merits, you know, wholesome deeds. That's why you are here and you are listening to, you are getting Kalyan Mitra Sevana, you are getting Sirisad Dharma Stravana, you are capable of doing Yoniso Manasikara and practicing Dhammanudhamma Patipada, right? You have the intelligence and the wisdom. You just have to sit down and do it for 2 hours. That's the thing people don't do, right? It is possible. I mean, you know, we have 24 hours of the day. Can't we find 2 hours? Can't we, you know, spend 2 hours on, you know, attaining the most important thing in life? You see, what do we do with the 24 hours? You see, with the 24 hours, people do everything else apart from this. You know, they will spend 1 or 2 weeks, 2 hours a week to listen to Dhamma. They will learn, right? Which is good, which is the first step. And the second step is practicing it. That is what people don't do. That is where the problem arises. You see, if they do it, maximum it will take 7 months. Especially people like you, those who are listening to Dhamma here today, these are all intelligent and wise people. I am sure all of you can become Sothapanna within 7 months, provided you practice it. Right? I'm sure you will learn the correct Dhamma by the time, you know, I complete these sessions, you will learn correct Dhamma. Right? There's no rocket science here. It's common sense. Any child of 7 years old with certain level of intelligence and wisdom can learn this Dhamma and comprehend it. It's common sense. All of you will, I know you have comprehended it already. It's just a question of practicing it. That is what you don't do. That is what most people don't do. In this group, there are 2 or 3 people I know that who do it regularly. Right? I won't mention the names now because others will fall out with me. Those who are doing it, they know that they are doing it. And those people, they are already either Sothapanna or very close to become Sothapanna. But there are only 2 or 3 people who do it regularly. Others, you know, they listen to Dhamma, they want to become Sothapanna, but they don't practice. That's the problem. They don't find that 2 hours, you see. They spend time on everything else. And 90, you know, 2 hours is less than 10% of our time. We have 24 hours of the day. Can't we spare 2 hours? If we really put our mind to it, we can do it, isn't it? You know how much time we spend on our studies when we are studying? You see, we find the time, we give up everything else and study because we have to pass the exam. Right? So similarly, all the exam that we have done, whatever we have done, bachelor's, master's, PhD, this exam is more important than that. But people will not spend that 2 hours to pass this exam. That is where the problem is. Would you agree with me?
Yeah, Bhante ji. Thank you so much, Bhante ji, for
You are
clarifying.
most welcome. It's an eye-opening question, Vinay. Very good question. Thank you very much for asking that question.
There is another question, Bhante, in the chat box.
Yes.
So, what is the difference between Bodhisattva, Sothapanna? Can you say Sothapanna person is a Bodhisattva?
Very good question. No, Bodhisattva is never become Sothapanna. You see, Bodhisattva means a Bodhisattva person will become Sothapanna in his last life. Because if he becomes Sothapanna, then he can never be a Buddha again. Right? A Sothapanna person cannot become a Buddha. Because Buddha is a Pruthakjana person. Now, if you take Prince Siddhartha, he was a Pruthakjana person who discovers Dhamma by himself. If you are Sothapanna, he knows Dhamma already. Right? So he cannot become, as a Bodhisattva cannot become Sothapanna. But a Bodhisattva will never go to the 4 hells because he is in a special category. Right? There are very few Bodhisattvas in the world, and they are an exception. They will never go to the 4 hells, even though it's not mentioned in the Ratana Sutra. In certain places, Lord Buddha has mentioned these certain exceptions. And a Bodhisattva will never go to the 4 hells, but he will never become Sothapanna until his last life. Best example is Prince Siddhartha, right? He was not Sothapanna. And even if you look at the previous Buddhas, none of them were Sothapanna. Because if you become Sothapanna, then you know Dhamma already. There's nothing to rediscover. Does that answer the question? Nansen, who asked that question?
The name is not there, Bhante, but I think, yeah, he replied that, yes, it is. It answers the question. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I have one question. May I ask?
No, Bhante ji,
Go
I'm
on, Nansen.
Yeah, I think Vinay has something. Yeah, Vinay, please.
Yeah,
Okay,
so
come, Vinay. Yes.
Bhante ji, I did not follow the previous answer actually.
Okay, let me explain it in more detail.
Yes,
You
please.
see, now, a person who is becoming Samma Sambuddha, you see, he practices meditation and paramita for a long time.
Mhm.
Now, let's say someone like, take Lord Jesus Christ, right? He was born as a Buddhist monk and he sacrificed his entire life, helping people. Now, if we take our Bodhisattva's life, there are many stories where he has been through life and had a very hard time helping people, sacrificing his own life to help the others. Look at Dr. Ambedkar's life, right? He was a great man, great Bodhisattva. He was born in a poor family. He worked so hard, and he was able to become the most qualified person in India, most intelligent and most wise person. But instead of getting a big job and earning money and living a luxury life, he decided to live a simple life, like Lord Jesus Christ or our Bodhisattva. He lived a simple life, and his entire life was dedicated to serve the others. That is the job of a Bodhisattva. Only a Bodhisattva can do it. We cannot, right? Neither you nor I can do what Dr. Ambedkar did. because he is a bodhisattva, right?
Mhm.
That is his paramita. He has tremendous courage, tremendous knowledge, and whatever it takes to do that job, he gets it from his paramita. That is his paramita. He has been accumulating merits for that purpose for a long time, right?
Mhm.
Trillions and trillions of years. So when you take a bodhisattva like that bodhisattva will rediscover Dhamma. That bodhisattva will be born at a time in the world where correct Buddha Dhamma, pure Buddha Dhamma has completely disappeared from the world. Right?
Uh-huh.
Would you agree with me?
Mhm.
And he will rediscover Dhamma. That's the greatest thing a Samma Sambuddha does. Right? Only
Yep.
Samma Sambuddha will rediscover Dhamma by his own effort.
Yep.
Right? So that is the more greatest thing one can do. The second greatest thing is what a bodhisattva does. Right?
Mhm.
So someone like Dr. Ambedkar, his paramitas are to become a Buddha. So first he has to perform the act of a bodhisattva. That's what he is doing now.
Mhm.
Right?
Mhm.
So if he becomes Sothapanna now, in his last life, he'll be born as a Sothapanna person and he will know Dhamma already. There's nothing to rediscover. Right?
Mhm.
So a Sothapanna person can never be a Buddha. Right? Sothapanna person will go to a good Divyaloka and from there he will move on. Right? He cannot become a Bodhisattva or vice versa. Bodhisattva will remain Pruthakjana until his last life where he will rediscover Dhamma. You see, a Bodhisattva is a person who does the greatest things in this world. The greatest thing is rediscovering Dhamma as a Samma Sambuddha. The second thing is serving the people, sacrificing everything that he has as a human being, which Dr. Ambedkar did, which, Lord Jesus Christ did, which our Bodhisattva did in many lives. Now, we know only one story, one life story of Dr. Ambedkar. We don't know how many thousands of lives he has done that, right? He will only explain that one day when he becomes a Buddha. Similarly, we don't know how many times Lord Jesus Christ has done. We know how many times our Gautama Buddha has done because he has explained it after becoming a Buddha, right? So becoming a Buddha is the best one can do. And the second best is becoming Bodhisattva. I mean, to become a Buddha, they have to be a Bodhisattva. And while they are Bodhisattva, they cannot be Sothapanna. If they become Sothapanna, then they know Dhamma already. You see, they will have to move on. They will have to go to a good Divyaloka, and from there, they will move on to Brahmaloka and go to Nibbana. Do you understand now? Does it make sense, Vinay?
So, Bhanteji, so you're saying that Bodhisattva will still become, in his last life, he'll become Sothapanna, right?
Yes, that is the time he will rediscover Dhamma, you see. So Sothapanna means, comprehending Dhamma. Right? Only Sothapanna will comprehend Dhamma.
So Bodhisattva has not yet comprehended Dhamma.
Bodhisattva has not comprehended Dhamma.
Comprehended Dhamma. Gotcha. Okay. Okay, but because of the paramitas, he continues to do good work.
You see, that's the path that he has to follow. His path is become Bodhisattva first and complete his paramita, which is a long way to go, because to become the greatest in the world, you have to do really great things, which you and I can't do. We just want to become Sothapanna and take the shortest possible route because we don't have that kind of strength. We don't have that kind of paramita. We want to take the shortcut, the shortest possible route, because we are not so great. But bodhisattvas are great people. They take the most difficult part, they do the greatest job, but they get a massive satisfaction out of it. Only they can get it, we can't see it. Do you think, some people might think, oh, Dr. Ambedkar could have had a great life, and it was silly that he went and did all that to his people, and he didn't do anything to his family, and he didn't earn much money. Some people will think like that, right? They cannot understand. Because a bodhisattva really enjoys the work that he does. That's not aswada, that's santutti paramandana. Lord Buddha said, arogya paramalabha santutti paramandana. There's a big difference between santutti or santosha and aswada. You see, Pruthajana person enjoys aswada, but the bodhisattva will enjoy santutti, santosha. These are very deep Dhamma points. You have to think really long and hard to comprehend them.
Thank you so much, Bhanteji. Now it is understood.
You see, certain things I cannot say in public because people will say, oh, he's criticizing Lord Jesus Christ, or he's criticizing Dr. Ambedkar, or things like that. Pruthajana person will say. Because of that, certain things I cannot say, to people, because most people who listen to Dhamma are Pruthajana people. Now, if I say to you, you read Dr. Ambedkar's book, Buddha and his Dhamma, can you become Sothapanna by reading that? You cannot, right? Because he was not Sothapanna. His purpose is a different job. He will write that book when he becomes Buddha. He will get his turn. Does that make more sense now?
Yes, Bhanteji. Thank you so much.
May I ask the question, Bhante? I mean, if that is done.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, the path of Nibbana, what you told that you will again cover in the next session, but
Yes.
as I attended the previous sessions as well,
Yes.
just need to have some clarification.
Yes.
Is the path towards Nibbana is sequential? If I see the life of Angulimala,
Yeah.
or for that reason, the dearest, the Anand, the Shishya of
Yes. Yes.
Buddha, right?
Yes.
So both has different paths to attain the Nibbana. Like
Exactly.
Angulimal did
Yes.
thousands of murder in the
Yes.
same life, he got arhanthood or he got a Nibbana.
Yes.
Right. Even Anand did practice a lot, followed a lot many things.
Yeah.
But maybe because of his ego, he was not able to become arhant, right? So is it a sequential process, or anyone can go to that particular stage at any point of time?
You see, the permutations and combinations that we have, if you talk in terms of statistics, are uncountable, right? Different people have different qualities. You cannot say it's because of one quality, because of that quality. We are a mixture of so many qualities, good and the bad.
But
right?
trying to understand, sorry, Bhante,
Yes.
trying to understand.
So in
what is
Angulimala's case, what he had was, you see, in that life, he had his paramitas were completed, right? His paramitas were completed to become arahat, but unfortunately, for some reason, that is also due to some past karma that he did. His teacher made him to become a murderer, right? So he went and killed 1,000 people and accumulated he did unwholesome deeds and accumulated sins. And that's all he had to eradicate in order to come to his path. So Lord Buddha explained to him how to eradicate that dukkha, right? It is not sankara dukkha, it's dukkha he had, right? He wasn't obviously he stopped creating sankara dukkha. He was doing sankara dukkha when he was a murderer. And after becoming a monk, that's why in Angulimala Sutra he says, since I became a monk, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. With the power of the truth of this, may I get these results. Remember when he went to a pregnant mother in Angulimala Sutra, he says, while he was going on begging for food, he comes across this pregnant mother who was having a tough time delivering the baby. He went and told Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha said, you go and pray, say this to her, And since he became a monk, he said, I haven't done this, I haven't done that. With the power of that, may this lady be able to deliver the baby, right? So coming back to your question, there are different combinations and different permutations. You have to understand, we cannot really say, only a Sambuddha can say, okay, this is the reason why Ananda took so long to become Arhat, and this is the reason why Angulimala managed to become Arhat quickly. Only a Sambuddha can do that analysis and understand those permutations and combinations. We don't have the wisdom to do all that. You see? Do you see my point?
Yeah, I understand, Bhante.
You're asking me a question only a Sambuddha can answer.
Just trying to understand here the characteristic or the driving factor, which is...
No, it's a very good question, but I am not equipped to answer that question. You see, I am only Sothapanna, I am not Arahat. And only Arahat monk or Sambuddha can answer that question. It's a very, very, comprehensive question that you're asking. You are asking why Angulimala managed to become Sothapanna so quickly and why Ananda took so long. That's due to the difference in the combinations and permutations that they are carrying in their bag. I don't know what they are. Only a Sambuddha can explain that. I can give you a brief explanation. My brief explanation is that these combinations and permutations are different from one person to another. It's a good question, but very comprehensive, very deep question. Only a Sambuddha can answer.
Agree, Bhante. Thank you, Bhante. Thank
You're
so much.
welcome, sir. What's your name, sir? Hello?
Naksen.
Oh, Naksen. Sorry. I didn't recognize your voice. I thought it was someone else. Good question, Naksen, but I cannot answer. Any other questions, anyone? Now that question is going long beyond Sothapanna level, Naksen. Naksen, remember I said I can answer questions only up to Sothapanna level. Your question is going long beyond Sothapanna level.
But every time I listens to these discourses, I got a deeper understanding about it. So
you see, because you are far ahead of the others. You see, you are far ahead of the others, and you are thinking long and hard. So you are coming up with questions I cannot answer.
maybe you need to work on it, Bhante. Thanks.
Bhante ji,
Yes.
Vandami Bhante ji.
Nama Buddhaya Cha Bimarchana.
One question I have,
Yes.
this Pruthakjana persons always
Yes.
work for satisfying their senses, six senses.
That's correct.
Yeah. Then now also most of the time we are doing, we are working like that only.
Yes, yes.
Then what should we do then? Now when we are learning Dhamma,
Yes.
then in day-to-day life, what should we do?
You see, when you learn correct Dhamma, now we are going to go through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, right? So when we go through Panchaskandha and the Pancha Upadana Skandha, when we learn about Pancha Upadana Skandha, you will see the danger of doing what you are doing right now, right?
Okay.
Then you will get the fear and you yourself will decide, I should stop this, right?
Okay.
There's no point in me telling you, don't do this, don't do that. You can, you will not, your mind will not tell you to do it, right?
Okay.
But once you have comprehended Dhamma, you will not do it yourself. It's like this. You tell a child, don't touch that candlelight, right? If you keep telling him, don't touch that, but he will go and touch. But once he has touched it and he knows what the outcome, then he himself will stop it. He will not touch it again. So similarly, once you have learned Dhamma and comprehended Dhamma, every time when you do, Sankara, like what you are doing now, you will see the results, right? You will remember, it will come to your mind, this is what happens to me if I do this. Then you will gradually stop doing it yourself, right? So you can't force yourself to stop it. You have to learn correct Dhamma, practice Dhamma, then your mind will stop doing it. You see, this is the mind game that we are playing. We are trying to control our mind. Our mind is controlling us.
Yes.
We want to control our mind, right? So the way to control our mind is we have to train our mind the way that Lord Buddha explained. So we have to first learn how our mind works, and then accordingly, we will tell the mind that this is wrong, that is right, and Lord Buddha has given the techniques to train the mind, that mind will decide, I should stop this. Until and unless that happens, you cannot stop. You see, you are used to watching television every evening, you have to watch. And if you are used to, eating nice food 3 or 4 times a day, you have to have that. You cannot stop it, right? You are used to a certain lifestyle, you cannot stop it because your mind is dictating you what to do, right? The mind who tells you, get up at this time, you have a wash, you need this breakfast. You have to have that breakfast, otherwise mind is not happy. Then you go to work, you have to have this for lunch. The mind is demanding it, right? And if you don't give that to the mind is not happy. Then you come home, you have to give them, you are trying to satisfy the mind. Mind is asking these things. I want this for my eyes, I want this through my ears, I want this through my tongue, I want this through my body. This, that the mind is asking you, right? And once you have learned the correct Dhamma, you will learn how to control your mind. You will know, how to get the best out of your mind. That is what Buddha Dhamma is all about. That's why Lord Buddha said, Mano pubbangama dhamma mano setta manomaya. Manasache paduttena basativa karotiva tatona dukkha mangveti chayava anapaini. You remember the first Gatha in the Dhammapada?
Yes, Bhante.
So the other one, next one is Mano Pubbangama Dhamma, Mano Setta Manomaya, Manasache Pasannena Basativa Karotiva, Tatona Sukhamang Veti Chayava Anapaini. Right? If you start with a wholesome thought, you end up with wholesome results. If you end up with the unwholesome thought, you end up with unwholesome results. The problem with our mind is working unwholesome all the time. Right? Why? Because it's enjoying aswada. Working unwholesome, creating unwholesome thoughts, gives the mind a mentally created, mentally fabricated pleasure. Mind doesn't know it's a real pleasure. It's a mentally fabricated pleasure. Until and unless mind understands that and sees the downfall of doing that, and that is called the adhinam of the aswada, mind will keep on doing that. And once the mind realizes if you go down this route, you will fall down into a massive hell, then the mind will stop doing it. So in order to get your mind to that level, you have to learn Dhamma and practice Dhamma. It's mind training. That's what we are doing, you see. Sabba papassa karanang kusala supasampada. Our mind is doing unwholesome all the time. It's creating unwholesome thoughts. Through that, it's doing unwholesome action. That's what the Pruthajjana person does. Trying to satisfy these six senses. Why? Because the mind is demanding it. Mind is controlling us. So we tell the mind, we learn Dhamma and we will tell the mind, look, you stop doing these bad things. Sabba papassa akarana. Akarana means remove. You remove everything unwholesome. Kusala supasampada, you practice kusal, wholesome. Maitri karuna mudita upekka. When you do that, your mind will purify. Right? Sachitta pariyodapana. Through that process, purify your mind. Then it's very easy. See, a Pruthajjana person's mind is polluted with raga, dvesha, moha. And he's doing the wrong thing all the time. But once you clear that garbage out of the mind, raga, dvesha, moha, and bring in the good qualities, maitri, karuna, mudita, upekka, then your mind purifies, mind stop playing the hell again. It's a mind that takes you everywhere. If you have a pure, clean mind, it can take you to Nibbana. If you have unclean mind, it will take you to the four hells all the time. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, Bhante. One more question related to that, Bhante.
Yes.
How can we distinguish Rag, Dvesh, Moha thought and Maitri, Karuna, Mudita thoughts?
Right.
Can
Good question. Good question. Let me explain you. Very good question. I'll be explaining it in detail when I go through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, but I'll give you a brief explanation here. You see, now most people don't know what is Raga, Dvesha, Moha and what is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. That is the main problem. Right? Do you know what is Raga, Dvesha, Moha?
No, Bhante.
Yeah. Do you know what is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka?
No, not that much.
Yeah. So that's the problem of the Pruthajjana person, you see. Good question you ask. So firstly, we have to understand what is Raga, Dvesha, Moha and what is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Right? Let's try and understand that. Now, Raga, Dvesha, Moha. These are the three things that bind a person to samsara. So in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, Lord Buddha says, Idanko pana bhikkave dukkha samudayo arya satchang. Yayam tanha pono bhavika nandiraga sahagata tatra tatrabhinandani. Sayyati dam kama tanha bhava tanha vibhava tanha. Right? You must have heard of this in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. Right?
Yes, yes.
Lord Buddha says the reason for suffering is kama tanha, bhava tanha and vibhava tanha. These three tanhas that create suffering, he says. Right? What is tanha? Now, in our, it's very easy to explain these things in our language because it's very close to Magadhi language. Tanha means getting attached to something, right?
Okay.
Tanha. Now, in our language, we say tanakata havenoa. Havenoa means attachment. Tanakata means place. So, tanha means getting attached to something or someone, right? With raga, dvesha, moha. Now, what is raga, what is dvesha, what is moha? You see, when you are attached to something with raga, you are attached to that because you are getting something in return from there, right?
Yes, yes.
Now, this is what Lord Buddha explains in the first noble truth. Idankopana bhikkhave dukkhang arya satchang. Jatipi dukkha, jarapi dukkha, vyadipi dukkha, maranampi dukkha. Soka parideva dukkha domanasa upayasapi dukkha. Piyehi vipayogo dukkho, appiyehi sampayogo dukkho. Yampi icchanna labati tampi dukkhang sankittena pancha upadana skandha dukkha. Right? That's the first noble truth. Now, I'll be explaining these things in detail when I go through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. But since you asked me this question, this is something I'll be explaining in the next session, but I'll explain it to you very briefly here because we have time for questions and answers. I think some people have gone to sleep already. What time is it in India now?
It is 11:55, Bhante.
11:55. So it's not too bad. It's not too bad. In UK, it's only 6:25 in UK. We got plenty of time. So raga means, you see now, let's say in the first noble truth Lord Buddha explains, jati pi dukkha, jara pi dukkha, vyadi pi dukkha, maranam pi dukkha. There are 4 types of suffering he's explaining here. All 4 he has the word P, right? Are you with me, Archana?
Yes, yes, Bhante, yes.
Now, what is the normal explanation you find in the books today? In every book that you read, every Tripitaka that you read in the world today, apart from the old Tripitaka, the translation is Jatipi Dukkha means life is suffering. Jarapi Dukkha means getting old is suffering. Vyadipi Dukkha is falling sick is suffering. Maranampi Dukkha is dying is suffering. Is that explanation correct? Archana, what do you think? Is that correct?
No, I don't know, Bhante.
No, that is wrong. Right? That is totally wrong. Because here in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, Lord Buddha is explaining how to eradicate Sankara Dukkha. The Dukkha that we are creating in the present moment as a result of this, trying to satisfy the 6 senses. Right?
Yes, yes.
But the life is suffering, death is suffering, getting old is suffering, dying is suffering. We all know that is suffering. Right? But that is not Sankara Dukkha, that is Viparinama Dukkha. Right? Remember, I told you there is Dukkha Dukkha, Viparinama Dukkha, and the Sankara Dukkha. Right? Dukkha Dukkha and the Viparinama Dukkha are coming to us as a result of our past karma. Right?
Yes.
You see, it's very important to understand this. That's why people have mixed up everything and in a big muddle. They can't understand the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. I haven't seen a single preacher, whether it's a layperson or a monk, who explains this clearly and precisely. Right? Anyone can challenge me on this. I can explain it I can debate this with anyone. I can prove it logically to anyone. And it is in the old Tripitaka that we have in the British Library. Anyone comes, I can show it to them. It is there. You see now, the when you say life is suffering, death is suffering, getting old is suffering, dying is suffering, everyone knows that, right?
Yes, yes.
Everyone knew that. Lord Buddha, in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, 12 times he says, Pubbe ananusutesu dhammesu, Chakkung udapadi, jnanang udapadi, panya udapadi, vicca udapadi, aloka udapadi. Right? Then he says this Dhamma, he understood in 12 different ways. He says, Dvadasakarang jnanadasanang suvisuddhang ahosi. He says, I understood this Dharma in the Four Noble Truths, each truth in 3 rounds. So in 12 different ways. And all 12 times he says, Ubbe ananusutesu dhammesu. I am explaining you a Dhamma you haven't heard before. Right? So he was saying this to Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu. I am explaining you a Dhamma you haven't heard before, which is the Sankara Dukkha. Right? So having said that, because people didn't know the difference between this Dukkha Dukkha, Viparinama Dukkha and Sankara Dukkha, they had mixed up the whole thing. Right? They didn't know it was the Sankara Dukkha that's creating suffering. So when he said to Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu, I am explaining you a Dhamma you haven't heard before. He says that 12 times. After saying that 12 times, do you think he will turn around and say life is suffering, death is suffering, getting old is suffering, and dying is suffering? Didn't Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu know this? Use your common sense, right?
Yes.
Do you think Panchavaggiya Bhikkhu knew dying is suffering? Hello? Are you there?
Yes, Bhante.
Do you think they knew or they didn't know?
They knew, Bhante.
They knew. Even a 10-year-old child knows dying is suffering, right?
Yes, yes.
Even a 10-year-old child knows getting sick is suffering, right? Getting old is suffering. So that is not what Lord Buddha explained there, right? So that is Viparinama Dukkha. Everyone knows that we cannot stop. That comes as a result of our past action, mainly based on the 2 karmas that we cannot eradicate. That is Anantariya Papa Karma and the Arya Upavada. That we have to suffer, right?
Okay. Yes.
But here what Lord Buddha explaining in the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra is Sankara Dukkha. The suffering that we create for ourselves as a result of developing attachment with Raga, Dvesha, Moha. Right?
Yes, Bhante.
So our question is, what is Raga, what is Dvesha, what is Moha?
Yes.
Now, Jati pi Dukkha. Now, Jati pi Dukkha means there's a sutra called Jati Dharma Sutra. Right? In that, Lord Buddha explains everything in the world can be divided into Jati.
Different. Okay.
Right? Jati means different categories, different types. Right? So everything in the world can be divided into different types. Jati. Pi Dukkha. Pi means, you are getting attached to something as a result of what you are getting from there.
Yes, yes.
Right? Raga means you are attached to something because you are getting something in return from there. Now, for example, let's say, if I take let's take an example. There's a young couple, right? Husband and wife and 2 children, and the husband's mother is living with them, right? And they all love the mother because she is doing everything in the house for them. They are taking the mother is looking after the house, doing the cooking, looking after the children. He's taken to the school. So husband doesn't know, the son doesn't know Dhamma, and the wife doesn't know Dhamma, and this poor lady doesn't know Dhamma, old lady, and the children don't know Dhamma. So the son, the daughter-in-law are attached to the mother with raga. They love the mother so much right? Because they are attached to the mother with raga, that means their love is conditional. It's based on what they are getting in return. Are you with me?
Yes, yes, Bhante. Yes, yes.
So supposing after a week, the mother becomes sick, right? Mother becomes sick and she is unable to do all those things that she did for the family. What happens? The raga turns into dvesha, right?
Yes, yes.
They love the mother so much, now they start hating the mother. She becomes a nuisance to them, right? Because they don't know Dhamma. Then they start, doing sankara, and every time when they see the mother, they get angry and they complain, this, that. All these things happen. Why it happens? Because of moha. They don't know the moha is not knowing Dhamma.
Okay,
okay. Sorry. Let me have 5 minutes rest for my throat. I think I have been demanding too much from my throat today. Give me a warning. Give me a 5 minutes rest and then I'll explain it to you. Archana, are you with me so far?
Yes, yes, Bhante.
Right. So
I
these
got the
people,
point.
the son and the daughter-in-law, were attached to the mother with raga, dvesha, moha. And that's why, their attachment with raga, dvesha, moha is if you're attached to someone with raga, your attachment depends on what you get in return from the person.
Yes, yes,
Right?
Bhante.
And if that condition changes, and your attachment, the love that you have, your raga, becomes dvesha.
Yes.
Your love turns into hate.
Hate, yeah.
Right?
Yes,
And
yes.
that happens because you have the person, the son had moha, he didn't know Dhamma. Moha means not knowing the Dhamma. Right? He didn't know Dhamma. So that is raga, dvesha, and moha. What is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka means? Now I'll explain it in another way. So here let me explain in one way. Now if the son and the daughter-in-law knew Dhamma, and they were attached to the mother with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, then their love is unconditional. Right?
Yes, yes, Bhante.
And
Yes.
that unconditional love will never change, irrespective of the outcome. Whether the mother does the work for them or not, they will still love the mother. Right?
Yes,
Because they know loving the mother, looking after the mother, and keeping her happy and earns them merits. Those are wholesome thoughts, wholesome deeds, and they earn them merits. Right? They know Dhamma. So here, in the second case, their attachment is with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Right? So that is one example I can give you from the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra. Then let me give you another simple example that you can understand in the practical world. Right? Now, supposing you are sitting at home, you live in India, right?
Yes, Bhante.
Now, in India and Sri Lanka, we get beggars coming to our house.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes,
let's
Bhante.
say a beggar comes to your house, and if you know Dhamma, if you don't know Dhamma, and then, the moment you see the beggar, what is the feeling you get? If you don't know Dhamma, what a nuisance this man is, right? Why is he coming here early in the morning? Right? He's going to spoil my day. You get dvesha straight away because you don't know Dhamma, right? And so with the dvesha, whatever the action you take will be unwholesome. you will either tell him off, right, to go somewhere else, or you will not give him anything, or whatever you give him, you will give it with anger just to get rid of him, right? So there, your attachment is with dvesha. Your attachment is with dvesha. Your attachment to that thought is with the dvesha, raga and dvesha, because you don't know Dhamma, moha. On the other hand, let's say you knew Dhamma and you are staying at home, this beggar comes to your house. Suddenly, what's the thought that you get in your mind? You say, you are controlled. Your controlling factor is Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. You are a Sothapanna person or a person who is in the Sothapanna Marga. You are always thinking of wholesome. The moment you see that beggar, what you think is, what a tragedy, poor person, I must give him something. Because the thoughts that are coming out of you are Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. Right? Are you with me?
Yes, Bhante, yes.
Yeah. Let's say you were practicing loving kindness meditation half an hour ago, right? Your thoughts are purified now, right? You are sitting down there with purified thoughts. Your thoughts are clear. You are thinking of Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. I'm trying to explain you the difference between Raga, Dvesha, Moha and the Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. That's what you wanted, right?
Yes, Bhante.
So here, you are sitting with a clear mind, purified thoughts, and suddenly you see this beggar. The thoughts that come to your mind are, poor man, must give him something, right? Why you say poor man? Because you get Maitri, you are practicing loving kindness meditation, and your Maitri comes out, Mudita comes out. Mudita is compassion, right? So Maitri, Karuna, immediately you are committing to wholesome thoughts.
Yes.
Poor man, I must give him something, right? Maitri, Karuna, Mudita. Mudita means your happiness, your happiness for others' pleasure, right?
Yes.
You give him something and enjoy. Because, you feel happy when he eats that food, or when he says thank you to you and take that 10 rupees that you give, you feel happy, right?
Yes.
Because you enjoy giving, right? You are giving it to the positive thought, because your thoughts in that moment are positive. Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, right? So that's Maitri, Karuna, Mudita. Those three are easy to understand. Upekka is little more difficult to understand. Upekka means maintaining a balanced mind. When something good happens to you, you think about it, enjoy it, but you don't keep thinking about it. Then you expect all the time for good things to happen to you. And when it doesn't happen, you feel sad.
Yes.
Right? So Upekka means maintaining a balanced mind. Whether something good happens to you, bad happens to you, let's say something bad happens to you. You have a car, you have a very expensive car, and you forgot to insure it, right? And you lost the car. And now the insurer, you go to the police station, they can't find the car. They say, okay, we will report. You complain it to the insurance company. They say, well, you haven't paid the insurance. You have run out of it, right? So there's no point in thinking about it and punishing yourself all the time, or whoever it is. You can blame your husband and say, look, the policy, it was you. I gave you the money to renew it. You didn't renew it. It was your fault. Whoever you will blame either yourself or others. If you are attached to the car with raga, right? If your attachment to the car with raga, then you have dvesha. It turns into dvesha when you lose the car, because you have moha. You don't know Dhamma, you are attached to the car with raga, dvesha, moha. But on the other hand, if you knew Dhamma, and you have no raga, desha attachment to the car, your attachment is with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. We say you like the car because you have to go to work. You need to work and earn a living to earn your basic necessities in order to practice this path.
Yes.
You cannot practice the path and become Sothapanna unless you have the basic necessities, right?
Yes.
And you need the basic necessities, so it's your job that helps you to get the basic necessities. And to go to work, you need the car,
Yes.
right? So you use the car with an understanding. Your attachment is with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, not Raga, Desha, Moha. You have an attachment, of course. If you don't have an attachment, you will give it to anyone, isn't it? You cannot give it like that because you need the car to go to work, right? But your attachment is with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka. So your attachment with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka is good. That is something that helps you to proceed this path to Nibbana, right? But attachment with Raga, Desha, Moha is the problem that blocks the path to Nibbana. I will explain it in more detail as we go through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra and also explain the Panchaskandha and the Pancha Upadana Skandha and also, the Manomaya Kaya, the physical body that we have and the astral body and the contents of the astral body. There are 5 containers that contains, wholesome qualities, marriage, unwholesome qualities, sins, our past memories. They are all connected together, right? These are all connected together. They are bits and pieces of one puzzle. So when I go through the Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra and explain it in more detail in the future sermons, you will understand it better. But if you listen to season 3, in the season 3 also I have explained this in detail, Raga, Dvesha, Moha, and the Panchaskandha and the Panchopadana Skandha, all that I have explained in detail. If you listen to season 3 again, right, you will understand it better. You will get a better understanding. But otherwise, I will explain it in any way in this season 4 in the next sessions. Okay.
Yes, Bhante. I have understood clearly.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you.
go through that season, season 3 sermons again. It's in the, I think it's 4, 5, 6, those sermons where I have explained in detail how the Panchaskandha and Panchopadana Skandha works. This time I want to explain it in more detail. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, Bhante. I understood it. Point. I got
You
it.
see, at the same time, I don't want to go into it too deep, and it is unnecessary, right? At Sothapanna level, we don't have to go into too deep because we have to understand, comprehend Dhamma at the first level. I don't want to confuse people, and also I'm not too far ahead of Sothapanna. My knowledge is limited, so I will explain up to Sothapanna, right? Even though I'm trying to go higher, I haven't gone there yet. So I don't want to talk about things I haven't experienced and I haven't comprehended, right? I will explain things that I am 100% sure of, and I am 100% sure of everything up to Sothapanna level that I will explain to you, right? But going beyond that, I will not explain because I haven't completed the path. Hopefully one day I will complete, and then I can explain all that. Now, several people have requested me to explain the Sothapanna Sutra, right? In Sothapanna Sutra, what Lord Buddha has explained in detail, the meditation techniques, especially the 4 meditation techniques that are necessary to complete the path. You see, I have always, somehow ignored or avoided going into deep in that sutra because I haven't comprehended that fully. So without knowing something fully, trying to explain it to others is not fair, right? I will explain what I know up to Sothapanna level. I can explain anything to anyone with confidence, without any problem, because I have comprehended it. I have practiced it. I have learned Dhamma, practiced Dhamma, and got results out of it up to Sothapanna level. I know what I'm talking about. I'm sure, and I can explain it to anyone. But going beyond that, which I haven't done, I don't want to do that. It's like this. You see, I have passed only, let's say, bachelors. I call them, Sothapanna is bachelors. Sothapanna is university entrance exam, and bachelors is Sakundagami, masters is Anagami, and Arhat is PhD. That is my own examples. So if I have passed only bachelors, I don't want to explain things that, in the master's syllabus or PhD syllabus, because I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't experienced it. It's not fair. So I don't go beyond Sothapanna level. I will explain only up to Sothapanna level. The question that you're asking is within Sothapanna level. I can answer. That's no problem. And but going beyond that, I will not do. So I think I have given you a fair answer here. And it's explained in more detail in the season 3 sermons, which you have listened to. And you can listen to them again and you will see. And I will give more explanation in the future, in the next few lessons. Okay. Does that make any sense to you, Archana?
Yes, Bhante. Thank you very much.
See, now we have gone past 3.5 hours. Any other questions, anyone?
Bhante, there is one question in the chat
Yes.
box by Richard. I don't see Richard in the participants, but he has dropped a question here.
Okay, what's the question?
He's asking, can Dhamma be comprehended in the 16 higher realms, as I am of the understanding that only in human birth we can comprehend Dhamma?
He is correct, 100% correct. You see, we can comprehend Dhamma only in the, the first level of enlightenment, we can only attain in the human world. He's 100% right. The first level of enlightenment can only be attained in the human world. That is because, you see, in the 4 hells, they cannot comprehend Dhamma. They don't have, they have too much Raga Desha Moha, and they don't have enough Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekka, and enough wisdom to comprehend Dhamma. That is simple to understand, isn't it? Would you agree, Archana?
Yes, Bhante.
Right. Then let's look at the other levels. Now, if someone has already gone to Nibbana, Arhat person, can he understand, can he comprehend basic Dhamma again? He cannot. Because he has already passed that. Right? When you are in PhD, you can't come back and do university entrance exam again. Arhat person cannot comprehend basic Dhamma again. Right? I mean, person who has gone to Nibbana, person who is Arhat, cannot comprehend Dhamma because he has already comprehended it. Then the person who is in Anagami level, he has become Sothapanna a long time ago. Comprehending Dhamma is becoming Sothapanna. Right? So he has comprehended Dhamma already. What he is discovering is through the meditation, he is, by practicing meditation, he is eradicating his bonds that he has with the samsara. Right? Would you agree with me?
Yes, Bhante.
See, there are 10 bonds that bind us to the samsara. The first 3, we eradicate at Sothapanna level. First one is, comprehending Dhamma. We comprehend the Dhamma at the basic level. Then we get rid of, when we comprehend Dhamma, we get rid of the doubt that we have about Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. And we stop doing nonsense outside the Noble Eightfold Path. Offering flowers and joe sticks and this and that, those things, and chanting and all that. We stop doing that because we know Lord Buddha has not recommended it. So at Sothapanna level, then Anagami level also, we can't comprehend Dhamma. And once a person has become Sothapanna, he's already Sothapanna. You know, once he has become Sothapanna, he has gone to a good Divaloka, he cannot comprehend Dhamma again because he has already comprehended it. So it's only in the human world one can comprehend Dhamma, because in the human world, people are Pruthakjana, they don't know Dhamma, and they have the opportunity to do the four things: associate Kalyana Mitra Sevana, listen to his Siri Saddharma Stravana, practice Yoniso Manasikara, and practice Dhamma Patipada. One can do it only in the human world. So he's 100% right. One can comprehend Dhamma only in the human world, nowhere else. Would you agree?
Yes, Bhante. Thank you so much. I hope.
So you can tell Richard, yes, he's right, 100% right. One can comprehend only in the human world. One can comprehend Dhamma only in the human world. He's right.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, we have gone past 3.5 hours now. I think I have been demanding too much out of my throat. I don't want to do it excessively. So let's stop there now. If you have any other questions, please ask them next time. Next session we will have in 2 weeks' time. So we will stop there and we will do the traditional transferring of marriage and conclude today's session. So by discussing Dhamma and, today by conducting this Dhamma sermon, we have comprehended 10 different types of merit. Dasa Punya Kriya. I have explained that in season 3. I will explain it again in the future. How we complete Dasa Punya Kriya by listening to Dhamma. So all these, the Punya Kriya means, merits. 10 different types of merits we have completed by listening to Dhamma and discussing Dhamma. So all those merits that we accumulated today during this Dhamma session, as well as all the merits that we have accumulated throughout our samsara, let's transfer them to our relatives who have passed away. According to Lord Buddha explained in the Tidoguda Sutra, every time when we engage in meritorious deeds, we should share them, firstly, with our relatives who have passed away, secondly, with all the living beings living on the 31 planes, and wish all of us Nibbana. Then our merits will be rooted to the correct path, where it will not be rooted to the wrong paths, where we will end up in bad Divyalokas or bad Brahmalokas. Our merits will be rooted towards becoming Sotapanna, Sakudagami, Anagami, and Arahat, and going to Nibbana. So that's what we are going to do now. So all the merits that we have accumulated now, let's share them, firstly with our relatives who have passed away. When we are talking of relatives who have passed away, we always think of Bodhisattva Bharatratana Babasaheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, because of whom we are all here. I'm sure he has been the father to all of us somewhere in this samsara. That's why we feel so much, love, reverence, and respect for him. And we have been able to benefit out of his teachings and his guidance and so on. So let's firstly think of Bodhisattva Bharatratana Babasaheb Dr. B.R. Ambedkar and his relatives who have passed away, and also our relatives. When we talk of our relatives, firstly, starting with our parents, not only in this life, trillions and trillions of lives we had parents, blood relations, other relations, friends, teachers, colleagues, neighbors, other people that we have met in our samsara. Let's think of all of them and transfer marriage to them. And may all those people that we mentioned and forgot to mention, may they all receive all our merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering, and may all their good wishes come true. May all of them comprehend the Four Noble Truths and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Idamme jnatinang hotu sukita hontu natayo. Idamme jnatinang hotu sukita hontu natayo. Idamme jnatinang hotu sukita hontu natayo. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, we are going to transfer merits to all the living beings living on the 31 planes. In Dhammacakkapavaththana Sutra, Lord Buddha explained there are 20 Brahmaloka, 6 Divyaloka, Manushaloka, and the 4 hells, 31 planes. All those living beings living on the 31 planes, wherever they are, may all of them receive these merits. With the power of these merits, may they all be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May all their good wishes come true. May all of them one day comprehend the 4 noble truths and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I am going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadam sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Ettavata chayammehi sambadam punya sampadam sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Next, with the power of all these merits that we have accumulated, may all of us and your family members be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May all your good wishes come true. May you be able to eradicate what Lord Buddha called anusaya, the raga desha moha thoughts you are creating in the present moment, as well as the asava. Asava is the raga desha moha qualities that you have accumulated throughout your samsara, which Lord Buddha explains in the Sothapanna Sutra, as well as in the Anapanasati Samadhi Sutra, as Digangva Sasangva Pajanati, Rastangva Sasangva Pajanati, which the people have translated as take a short breath and take a deep breath, which is not talking about the breath, it's talking about Digangva Sasangva Pajanati, means the raga desha moha qualities that have accumulated over a long period of time. Digangva means long, eradicate them. And rasangva means short period, whatever the raga desha moha that you have accumulated during the short period, eradicate them. So the raga desha moha qualities that we have accumulated, Lord Buddha called them asava. So here in this gatha, we are trying to we are making a wish with the power of our merits. May we be able to eradicate anusaya, which is coming into our mind in the present moment, that sankara, and also the raga desha moha qualities that we have accumulated throughout our samsara. That is, what we have accumulated through dukkha dukkha and sankara dukkha. Sorry, dukkha dukkha and viparinama dukkha. So here, that's what we are wishing by this gatha. If you listen to it carefully and analyze it, you will see. So may we be able to do all that and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. In order to make those wishes, I am going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Imina punya kammena mame bala samagamo satan samagamo hotu yava nibbana patya. Here, we are saying with the power of the merits that we have accumulated, may we be able to eradicate the Bala Samagama. Bala Samagama does not mean poor relations or bad relations. It means any bad thoughts that are coming to our mind. Now, this is translated as, with the power of these merits, may we be able to eradicate bad people from our life. That is not the correct translation. Correct translation is the unwholesome thoughts that are coming to our mind. May we be able to eradicate that. Then the next gatha is Idamme punya kammang asavakya vahang hotu. I mentioned to you asava. Asavakya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuchyatu. The meaning of that is, with the power of the merits that we have accumulated, may we be able to eradicate the asava in our mind, in our chitta santana, in the box, the box number 1 that we have accumulated, unwholesome qualities. May we be able to eradicate that. So when we eradicate those two only, we'll be able to maximize our wisdom to the highest level and comprehend Dhamma. That's why it says, Idamme punya kammam asavakya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuchyatu. Sabba dukkha pamuchyatu means eradicate all our suffering. So let's recite this gatha. Now when you recite these gathas, you know the meanings of them. Otherwise, in Sri Lanka, people just paraphrase them and they don't know what they are talking about. And they have wrong meanings everywhere, not only in Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma, all the countries that I know, Buddhist countries, they just paraphrase them. They don't know the meaning of it. Okay, let's recite that gatha. Idamme punya kamman asavakya vahang hotu sabba dukkha pamuchyatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Finally, in order to ask for forgiveness from the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, I'm going to recite these gathas. If you know the gathas, you can recite them with me. Otherwise, you can say sadhu 3 times at the end of them. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena mayakatang achayang kamame bhante bhuripanya tathagata. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena mayakatang achayang kamame dhamma samditthika kalika. Kayena vacha chittena pamadena mayakatang achayang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I'm going to give you the blessings of the Mahasangha. Abhivadana silissa nichang vadda pachayino chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukambalang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samichatu. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakkantu sabba devata sabba buddhanubhavena sabba dhammanubhavena sabba sanghanubhavena sada sati bhavantu te. May all of you be healthy, be happy, be free from worries, free from suffering. May all your good wishes come true. May all of you be able to eradicate your anusaya and asava and purify your mind, comprehend the 4 noble truths, become Sothapanna, and finally attain permanent happiness in Nibbana. May the Noble Triple Gem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha bless you all. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much, Bhante.
Sadhu, 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 Bhante ji.
You are most welcome, all of you. Please do join again in 2 weeks' time. Next weekend, I am having the Sinhala Dhamma sermon. And the following weekend, I will again have the English one. And today, a lot of people attended. Thank you very, very much. And let's keep the attendance up. And I'm doing my best to help you. And you have to help me to help you. Thank you very much. Namo Buddhaya, Jai Bhim.